How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to Battlegrounds Game Center. I am Patrick, and today we're doing our long-awaited tier list for Spearhead.
Highly anticipated, widely requested.
Yes, by like 3 people.
By 3 people and me
and
specifically.
Me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to do something really simple today. We're just going to talk back and forth about the current Spearheads because there are some new ones coming out.
There's new ones coming out. We've played the major majority of them at this point on camera for the YouTube, and also just like in general, you and I have played like a good amount of Spearhead, I think, right? Yeah. I think, you know, there's certain ones that we've seen more than others, so I think we've got a good handle on it. We're no like grand tournament Age of Sigmar players.
No, we play for fun.
Yeah, I like to think we play for fun.
Until you sweat.
I mean, I gotta sweat a little bit.
We're highly anticipating the new stuff.
We're at a point now where we're ready for exactly what they're giving us, to be honest. The new board, edition. New cards, right? And so you have options, right? So it's not like this is our Fire and Jade Spearhead tier list, right?
Right.
And I've, you know, formulated my thoughts around, like, I've thought of the card. I was looking at the missions that you can get with the cards and, like, how good is each Spearhead getting at those missions.
Kyle prepared way more than me. I was just going to kind of...
I thought a little bit about it, right? Yeah. I wanted to at least have a mildly informed opinion for when I start, you know, word vomiting on camera.
I was just like, yeah, hit record, go. I don't know.
Yeah. That's what you are, the vibe officer here, and then I'm going to be the mechanics officer,
Perfect.
I think, is what it's going to be. So
yeah, we got quite a few to get through here, and let me go over the tiers and how we have them labeled. Pretty simple, but the very highest tier, or what you would call S tier, it's just broken. We think, you know...
Broken's a good word for it.
It needs tuned, or it has been tuned maybe, but maybe needs a little bit more tuned. Very good. It's probably going to be a good gist of these, to be honest, because Spearhead is a relatively balanced game. I'm pretty happy with where it's at. But then we got fine for those that, you know, that's fun to play, but it might not be my first choice.
Yeah.
Boring, because either the models are boring, or the rules are boring, or it's slog to play. There might only be a few in there. And then bad. I know at least one that will definitely be in bad.
I think that we're each going to have a hot take, and that's where the bad tier is for, right? And especially with the most recent round of balancing that they did with Spearhead, I think they did a really good job of, while before that there were solid like F tier Spearheads, they did a good job of bringing those up to at least
a D,
honestly. So I think when we label things in that like kind of bottom 2 tiers, I think it's more so that's just one tier of these are the lowest class of them.
And these, of course, are all opinions. We are not the be-all, end-all of what these are, you know, worth to you. One of them that could be bad could be your favorite. Like you know, and that's totally fine.
And like I said, with the most recent like round of updates, they did a really good job of honestly just tacking reinforcement onto everything.
Yeah,
solved a lot of problems for a lot of these Spearheads.
Not for all of them.
No, I don't think so. But we'll get into it. Yeah. This is gonna be fun.
So, very first one though, I kind of just randomly put them on here. They're not alphabetical. They're not by like choice or anything. So the very first one here, if I can see the image because it's kind of tiny, is the Disciples of Tzeentch.
All right, so they come with the Magister, 3 Flamers, 3 Screamers, 10 Zangors, and then 10 more other dudes. So
you played them.
I played them on camera here, and I played against them once. When I played against them, I played them against your Nighthaunt. So for that game, I felt like that was a
pretty good matchup.
That was, right? And when we talk about Nighthaunt, I'll talk about Nighthaunt. I have a lot of feelings about them. Actually, I do. But Tzeentch, best you can get -2 AP on like 1 gun. Everything else is going to be 0 AP and maybe sometimes
the 0 AP and Spearhead can really hurt depending on the matchup.
That's where I think it's gonna. That's where we make like the winners, right? The ones that have good saves, and you're just always going to lose against them because your opponent's just going to be rolling 3-ups all day. Which, you know, they have a lot of shots and everything, but with how small the Spearhead board is, it's really tough to stay away and keep your guns safe.
Their battle trait too, the Destiny dice, is kind of cool. Being able to like plug in dice to use for certain things. I wish there was get an AP1 with what die or something like that. For just even like your regular dudes.
So like when you roll 9 dice, you're gonna have 2 or 3 6s, 2 or 3 5s, 2 or 3 4s, 2 or 3 2s down.
And I'm pretty sure you made a bad one be a save because he wanted it to die.
Something like that happened.
There's some cool flexibility there.
They've got a really cool tool that's really useful, like exactly why Eldar was really good in 40K. They have that mechanic, but they have a lot of really powerful tools. We're missing those powerful tools. So, like, they're fun to play. I don't see them having the power that they need to break those top tier spearheads.
So you would say they are fine.
Exactly mid. You can work with them, right? They have a good, because of their speed, they have the screamers, they have the dude on the disc. You can do a lot of the secondary cards, like pretty successfully. But I think you're just going to lose in the grind out normally, on average.
So going into probably biased opinion here, my favorite one.
Yeah.
The Soulblight Gravelords.
There's going to be more than a few biased
there might be a few biased
today. So.
So going from kind of mid to what I think is... I'm on the edge of broken and very good with them.
I would definitely agree they're A tier. Like in the most recent round of updates, I thought they were maybe going to be one of those lists that got reinforcement tacked on, but they didn't.
Right. It's because of the recursion. They don't really need it.
Yeah.
The Vargeist... I will say the Vargeist, in my opinion, are probably the weakest part of the whole thing because they come in later and they just always seem to die right away.
But that's like a bonus that you get. Even if you never got the Vargeist, you have the Knights, you have the Skeletons, right?
While I don't think they're as egregious as maybe the Slave to Darkness Knights.
3s into 3s, they've got that good
I will say
profile.
the very first game we played with them, they didn't really get to do much because I was like, hey, I'm going to charge a Tree Lord.
That's part of the fun of Spearhead. And I remember that game because I used the unrendable save tactic on him, right? That's what clogged you up there, right? But if that card wasn't in play, right, and that's...
But any other time I've used them, like in tournaments and stuff, usually what they charge dies.
Yep.
For the most part.
And you get to start the game with them now. Or not now, but like you... As compared to other cavalry spearheads, right?
Yeah,
you start with them on the board.
They have the ability to fly over models.
Yep. You get that turn 1 charge with them every time. Yeah.
So I don't think they're broken because the rest of it, like the skeletons, they do die pretty quick. They don't hit too great, but they have recursion and they're good. They're objective monkeys. I mean, that's what they're made for. I think the Vampire Lord is hilarious because you can once per game just teleport her anywhere you want. Yeah. And in a moment that you need something, it's really good to have. And she's not too squishy either because of the hunger. Because like with the Blood Knights and hers, they're vampires, so they get to heal.
And only 5 wounds. She you got to make sure it works, right? But she has
not
a 3-up
only save though,
healing in the hero phase, but in the combat phase as well. Like she heals I think 3 times during a turn up to. So like
it's for whenever she does damage.
And she's got a hero spell.
Yeah, she's got spells that heals
her. Yeah.
And then she's got a 3-up save, and then of course since it's a Death Army, they all have 6-up wards.
Yeah.
So it is a very survivable army.
Yeah.
Even the skeletons. But I think I would put them at very good. I kind of want to teeter onto broken just because they're my favorite.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're so... I think they are like a really good competitive option if you're into that for Spearhead.
I think they're an A tier for sure.
But they are definitely up there. So I'm going to put them at a very...
Arguable. I think you're right. They're arguable for like the top tier, S tier, one of the top 3. But
I don't think they're broken. But yeah, that's Soulblight.
Their current Spearhead, definitely an A tier, good.
We'll see what their new one's like.
Teetering on... And I wonder if they're going to excel in the new... box,
right? Because it's all death themed, and I don't know if that means anything that goes along with more death armies or not. I think it's just a theming.
It is just a theming, but I'm guessing they're gonna play well into it, right? It's gonna be a good season for them.
So the next one we have is one that we haven't played yet. Well, you kind of played
we haven't played on camera.
Cities of Sigmar. I've been trying to paint it to play it. It's just it's hard.
They're very pretty models, very detailed, so they're going to take some time to paint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you really want to, and you should take your time with those.
I don't have too much of an opinion on them, obviously, so we can kind of just look at what the rules are, and then kind of go from there.
They have I really like their rule where they get to stow away a command and just use it for later. Okay. Some of those commands are really powerful. Some of those commands are borderline useless. Is how I feel about that. I think that they're a card draw dependent faction. If you draw 3 cards that are just...
They're kind of like the new Dark Oath. Like
If you draw things that are just completely useless to you on that turn, then your whole army faction rule is just useless to you.
I just realized I don't actually have Dark Oath on this list, so we'll talk about it when
we
get there.
We'll make sure we check
I'll retroactively add it
in. They do have they have got the good pocket of 5 cav, right? Missing that, they're 3 wounds, 3-up armor. They've got the charge +1 damage. They get to start on the board, so they've got that important tool that can actually do damage. The dudes on foot, 10 dudes that are reinforced is a weak wall, and they're really relying on defending that cannon, I think, and Spearhead is a small game. It's really tough It's tough, especially when you only have 10 boys. When you've got 20 clan rats, you can hide that Warp Lightning Cannon pretty well. When you've got 10 dudes, 5 horses, and another dude on a horse, it's just tougher to really protect that cannon, which you need to be doing damage to get the value that you're supposed to out of the army, right? And meanwhile, your command might be completely just not helpful, or it's like, oh, I've got a 5-up ward on a unit this turn. It's kind of mid, right? So between the 2 regiment abilities, I think you're going to take the free shot every time.
Yeah.
Getting strike first on your cav is really nice. Strike last is always going to be better.
Right.
When you're charging, you kind of have strike first anyways. The free shot, if you just completely whiff it, 2 shots on 4s, a 1 and a 3, you know.
You could blow something up like a giant.
So that's helpful, but I think you're always going to take the free shot every time. I think for the enhancements, there's really nothing super exciting. D3 models back to the 10-man unit. Probably going to take that one. Extra rend in some lists. So I think that they got a lot of good tools. The command function is a really good ability to be able to stow one of your cards away, use its command twice when it's a really good command. But you got to draw that good command. So I would put them overall, to me, I need to play against them some more. So I don't want to necessarily leave them in the mid tier.
So you're thinking boring? So I would say, how about fine, just lower on the fine?
A lot of these are going to be fine for me because there's nothing where I think that makes them a top tier army, but
I don't think they're boring. I think they're really cool in a lot of ways.
I think they've got I mean, it's fun to have a big gun that you shoot, right?
That's not boring at all.
That's not boring.
And their new one that's coming out looks even cooler.
I'm excited for the new one.
It has the Master Blaster dude with the sniper on top of the ogre and all that.
The exact models I want to paint out of the city's like whole roster
is the gun.
Man with gun on ogre is coolest. That's the coolest model I've ever seen. Like I don't know about coolest.
It's Master
but
Blaster.
Love it. It's Master Blaster. Yeah. And then 10 dudes with big guns, So we'll see how that... I'm honestly worried for that Spearhead. I'm worried that Spearhead's going to suck.
Because it's just all shooting.
Because it's all guns, right? And unfortunately, Spearhead's
Well, if you shoot before you get hit, then,
you get your round of shots
don't
off.
Go second.
Right? If you shoot good enough, right?
Just don't go second.
Just don't go second.
But moving on, your very first one we played with on camera, Sylvaneth.
Sylvaneth are always going to be one of the top contenders, I think, because of the tools that they have. Strike and fade and just the amount of maneuverability. It's really good, especially when you can do it on a tree lord. A 3-up armor, 14 wound, just smacker.
And based off like gameplay with tournaments and stuff, they're always on the top.
Every tournament we've done, they're always at the top.
They're on the top with like 2 others, and we'll get there. But
they're not an army I think you can jump into Spearhead with. I think you got to kind of you have to know the cards. You have to know, okay, in the deck, I still have these 3 things that I know I can easily do. So I'm going to draw my next 3, hope to get it. You have to know the missions and you have to be ready to get them, right? But if you have a good idea of what the missions from the cards are and you're getting them, you can get them with your maneuverability, they're always going to do well on points.
So do you think they're teetering on to broken?
They are one that I would put in that S tier. I don't think they got any kind of nerfing in the most recent round of buffs and balances. They really aren't the strongest. And to be honest, this happened in one of our tournaments. This has happened to me and for me, where that tree lord, you strike and fade. Sometimes you roll a 1.
On camera.
On camera. And so
Twice.
I think that they're pretty reliable. They're never going to be completely reliable. I don't think there's ever I don't think there's going to be a number 1 Spearhead. I couldn't put this one at number 1 because of that. I think there's going to be like the 3 best at the end of it for me in my mind. But for them, between all the tools that they have great power in the Tree Lord. They've got great utility in their maneuverability and just their spells that they have. The healing on the Tree Lord is always great. I mean, they're S tier for me. I would put them in that broken tier of they're going to win you games when you know what you're doing with them. So,
very cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to say because I've gone against them multiple times, especially in the tournaments.
Yeah,
a lot of people have. And if that is an indicator of something,
that's part of the indicator too. Is like when you see a lot of people playing something, you know it's probably they're playing it for a reason. Yeah. So.
If you guys want to check out these videos too that we're talking about, like I will have them linked up on the top of the screen because we've done quite a few of them.
We have, yeah.
We still have one that I am editing. It'll come very soon, and then we'll have more after that. But yeah, I'll have them all linked in the video as we go along. So the next one Bad. Kharadron Overlords.
Just right into bad.
Just
That's
right into
fair.
bad.
So I was really, put my phone down. Kharadron Overlords is one that I spent probably some of the most time looking at because on our game, it was a really poor showing. I think some of that was dice. I think some of that was
choices,
freshness
maybe.
to the rules, right? But even still, and this I'm going to talk pre-buff so far, right? You got the big boat, and you've got 10 dudes, I think, 15 dudes.
Something like
that. With 4-up armor saves, some pretty decent, like punches, guns. Like, they've got some...
You think their guns would be better, but they're all like hit on 4s, wound on 4s. It's not great.
They're all pretty mid, right?
Yeah.
The boat is cool, right? And it's tough to kill.
That's why you buy it.
They did kind of what I don't want to say the easy buff, but it's what they did to most armies.
Just reinforcements.
They tacked on reinforcements, and I think that helps so much with them. I really do. Where before in the past, for me, I do think they were an F-tier army. At the end of the day, I think that with all of your power being in the boat, everything around it's going to die, right? And while your leader does have that nice 3 damage punch that they do have, they've got the cool combat tricks. I think when you look at their battle traits, you're always going to take the move and then charge out of moving with the boat. Falling back, it's arguable which battle trait you'd take there. I don't think there's a clear winner there. Their enhancements, they're all pretty average when I remember looking at them.
4-up saves, hit on 4s, wound on 4s. Even no AP at all, really. Even for their guns.
Maybe minus
maybe
they're going to have -1, and then the big gun on the cannon, or on the boat, is going to have -2, I think.
Yes, the heavy skyhook.
Yeah. But that thing hits on 4s. So, like, you get 2 shots.
There's a lot of hit
you
on
miss
4s.
1,
Yeah.
you wound it, you maybe do 3 damage with it. And, like, yeah, that's nice, 3 damage a turn. There's only 4 turns, right? And I've charged the boat's locked up in combat. Yeah, it gets that once per game if you take that battle trait, fall back and shoot. But so overall, like, I think that shoves them right into the fine tier. I think I'm biased and shoving them into the D tier still. I would put them in that bad tier.
So we don't really have a D tier. It's just fine, boring, and bad.
I know I'm using letters and stuff.
So I would still consider them bad.
I would as well. I'd
have to play them again, but...
With the new change, I think that honestly does put them into
that at least gives me some more points.
That puts them into the balance, right? They're going to do fine against most of the other average spearheads, but I think it's going to lose every time to those top.
Anything that has a 3-up save, you just pack up and leave.
Yeah,
because
you're not going to kill them.
You're not going to kill them.
Yep.
And again, this is a points game, obviously, but you're not going to survive long enough either. So I don't know. There could be an argument to put them up to fine. But I still...
With the reinforcements, I think that alone does it. Because now, turn 3, you're... first off, everything has to die, right? So that it does... I would have to play them some more. Part of the problem is nobody plays them, to be honest.
And that's another... then there's that other indicator of... maybe they're not so good.
We have a microcosm of the world,
I
right?
might meet you in the middle. I'll just throw them in the boring, because I still think they're boring to play.
They're interesting, and I could see what you're going for there. Yeah. But there's nothing really exciting in there where I think, one dude needs, like, he's got that hits on a 3, wounds on a 3, really good gun, consistently does that little bit of damage I need. But everything in there is blah.
I'll meet you in the middle. I'll put them in boring.
I'm happy with
the
that.
D tier of this.
If they didn't get that buff, absolutely bottom tier. Just not enough.
Probably the worst out of all of them.
Yeah. Yep.
From mechanical dwarfs to naked dwarfs.
Yeah.
The Fyreslayers. You got to play these during our Halloween video.
I loved the Fyreslayers that I did play because they did smell like pumpkin spice. The most wonderful little dwarves. And it was like I didn't even have to lean down to sniff it. Like, standing here on the table.
I could smell it across the table.
It smelled like I was in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
It really did. So when I look at the Fyreslayers battle traits, I'm disappointed because you need a 6 for you to really get the value that you're supposed to get out of it. Yeah. In Sylvaneth, sometimes you roll a 1 and can't strike and fade. That happens 1 out of 6 times. In Fyreslayers, 5 out of 6 times you get a subpar buff. 1 out of 6 times you get a good buff. I just, and the value isn't there in those subpar buffs on their battle traits. So looking at their battle sheets, though, it's dwarves with 5, they got the t-shirt saves of 5-up. They got their wards, though, across the board. You can put it up to a 5-up ward. Like, they've got...
They hit on 3s, wound on 3s.
They can do some damage, but you only have 1...
They actually have rend, though, so that's something.
They've got a little bit of rend on everything. They've got a good chunk of bodies, 20 mid-dwarves, 5 dwarves that actually do some damage. Maybe not actually, that will do some damage. 20 dwarves that need buffs.
I will say they definitely killed the things they got into.
When they get to it, they kill it, right? And so I think that they're better than the showing that they had on camera.
In that game, I think if you would have gone first.
That too.
Or did you go first?
I can't remember, but I remember what I would have done differently is I would have taken the other battle trait. The throwing axe battle trait, never. I think it's a trap. I think it's just bad. Pick once per battle, start of the first battle round. I need to get first turn, granted, I think, for this to really work, but pick up 2 dudes and drop them 6 inches away from you. I'm guaranteed.
Yeah. That probably would have made a difference, because that was against Gloomspite, so I had a lot of small units, or small health body.
I think you always take that battle trait. I think you always take the enhancement that lets you put a dwarf back in every single or you roll a die for each one on a 3-up. Like you could get 5 dwarfs back in one turn, and that's every turn, right? I think you always take that enhancement, and then you just run forwards and you see what happens, right? Some days it's going to do really well. Some days it's not going to do so well. Reliant on dice rolls and RNG, not a reliable army for me. Because of the showing that I had with it, this is another army where I just don't see a lot of it, right?
So we're teetering on boring and fine.
Although, like I said, a lot of these are going to end up fine for me because I have a hard time, especially with the most recent updates and balancing. I think that helped a lot.
They did do good.
I think that this one is a deserved boring because of the play style of it.
I'm going to put him above Kharadron, though.
I'm fishing for a 6 to get my really good buff that's going to win me the game.
And the other thing that would put it into boring for me is just the visuals. Yeah. It's just a bunch of naked dudes that are all the same.
I've never been super big about the Fyreslayers army,
So, the next one, we just recently played. It isn't out as of this video yet. I'm still editing it. Is the old Skaven Spearhead.
Yes.
The one with the lightning.
Do you want to just do both Skavens?
At the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have them back to back.
Because talking about one Skaven Spearhead necessitates me to talk about the other Skaven Spearhead.
Absolutely, we can do that.
So I'm just going to do both Skavens.
And then after that, we'll just go into Stormcast.
That works, yeah.
Those are the most recent, not the most recent ones, but they were in the big new box and everything. So yeah, the old Skaven Spearhead.
The old Skaven Spearhead, the Warp Spark Claw Pack with the Warp Lightning Cannon, 3 Storm Fiends, 20 Clan Rats, the Grey Seer. This one I like more than the other Skaven Spearhead.
I will agree with you on that one. Yeah.
I think it's just strictly better. Reason being, so yes, Spearhead, small game, right? Small board. Big gun. Usually it's not too hard to charge it and touch it and stop it from shooting. I think this one has the tools to prevent that.
You have a lot of maneuverability.
20 Clan Rats that have maneuverability tricks on top of the 3 Storm Fiends that
which are awesome.
Surprisingly good, right? They got 4-up armor save isn't great, but they've got guns, they punch good, and they're like 5 or 6 wounds each, right? The Grey Seer is just there for fun, right? It's not really, he's not exciting or anything.
And you got reinforcements on the Clan Rats.
Exactly, right? I have that first screen of 20 Clan Rats to protect my Warp Lightning Cannon in the first 2 turns. Shoots turn 1, does some damage. I don't think it did much damage.
No, I mean, you'll see when the video comes out, which I'll link up in here. That is the next one. It was a Skaven versus Ossiarch.
So it was a really good game, that one.
It was good, yeah.
The Warp Lightning Cannon, some turns it's going to do nothing, right? It's just not.
I mean, I feel like that's the same with any big gun.
Exactly.
With the cities or with the Oryx, or even the Ogres. It's like the big guns, like you get like 1 or 2 shots.
I think this one has the tools to protect it, to get the most value you can out of it, as compared to other ones with a similar idea.
Right.
On top of, you've got the Storm Fiends, and you've got all the movement tricks. So this one I would put in an A tier for sure.
Very good. Yeah, I think I could.
I think this one's competitive. I think this one can compete, for lack of a better word, I guess.
It's competitive. It can
compete, yeah. I think this one has the tools to kill stuff that you need to and also not die where you need to, right? The Clan Rats can be surprisingly good. A tier for them, definitely a C tier. I wouldn't say... I'm going to say it. I'm going to say boring for the old Skaven, or not the old Skaven, the new Skaven Spearhead. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say boring for the new Skaven Spearhead because I don't think the Vermintide rule is good of lurking in the holes. You're forced to drop 6 inches away from a corner of the board, which is probably the most restrictive deep strike I've seen in Spearhead.
Yeah.
You can drop Clan Rats or Rat Ogres, and they have to drop the 6 inches away at least. Sure, you can drop in and shoot your little flamethrower. That's pretty nice. It's pretty spicy. but I just don't see a good place of damage elsewhere in the list. Your leaders are just strictly worse than your opponent's leaders. Your clan rats are not as recursive as literally the other clan rats. So for me, the new Skaven Spearhead goes into the boring tier. I think that they just perform worse than the old one.
Now, would you say they could perform? I mean, they're probably worse than the Fyreslayers, but better.
I would say they're worse than the Fyreslayers, honestly.
But better than the Overlords.
Yeah, they'd probably be a fair match into the Overlords. There's not the same tools that you have in other Spearheads to do damage, and your recursion isn't as strong. Your persistence isn't as strong as other Spearheads that have similar ideas.
Stormcast Eternals, both of theirs. So I'm going to talk about the newer one first.
Yeah.
That, I think, is very good. I'd say it's low, very good.
The Vigilant Brotherhood, you get the dudes with wings, you get a few dudes on foot, the mounted, you get a couple characters.
Yeah, having multiple characters is interesting.
You have reinforcements on the
flyers.
On the flyers, which is surprising to me. That gives you a really good tool in the early game and a really good tool in the late game.
And in their battle trait, you have two different ones. You can pick a friendly unit until the start of next turn. They just have Ward 5, which is really cool, once per turn during your hero. And then they have Storm Charge. You can pick a friendly unit that charged, even if it used a run ability. So you can get those harder hitting, the Liberators especially are very hard hitting, when you want them to be. Running them up, charging.
And it's all on good bodies.
So like the game that we played, one of the against your Skaven, like I got rid of like 2 units with just those guys.
I think that was kind of a showing of their power versus kind of the new Skaven Spearhead's power.
So I don't think they're broken, and I wouldn't even put them at the very top of very good.
Mm-hmm. I think that's another one where like definitely A tier as well. When we talk about the other one, that one has the power, I think, to go a tier above.
I think so. I don't know if they nerfed it. But anyways, going into the other, I don't have much more to say about them.
They're
all boring. These two are kind of boring to me.
Yeah,
because I don't like Stormcast.
Yeah.
So I would just put them at boring. But rules wise and gameplay wise, I think they're both in the top 2.
I think they're just because of the value, the pure value they have out of 3-up armor save bodies with good attacks and some good enough tools. They're going to be a competitor every time.
So Yndrasta Spearhead.
Yndrasta. Winedrastu.
And you die.
Yeah. That one, when we played that one on camera, I think that one had a really good showing.
It was,
as well. Yeah. That one went into the Kharadron, right?
Yes, that was the worst matchup
that
possible.
One, I think that one is a good one to go back and look at to see what I'm talking about when I mean like the value of Spearheads. Just the raw, like, I have a body with a 3-up save and 2 good attacks versus you have a few more bodies, but they have a worse save. They have a worse attack. They have
no
less
rend,
wounds.
especially in the 3-up saves.
Yeah.
Like
you just get good value out of it.
And Yndrasta is just, I point at you and you die for the most part.
Thank goodness Yndrasta and the hammer dudes can't come in until turn 3.
Yeah, that was a big nerf on that.
That was how it was in the beginning. They always were restricted to come in late like
That's
that.
Right,
yeah, which I'm glad. If it wasn't like that, it would definitely be A tier every single time. But so Yndrasta Spearhead, good one. I mean, that one's to me. I
don't think they're broken.
No.
Honestly,
yeah,
because they come in turn 3.
That keeps them in check for sure.
But I would say they. There's my bias. At the very top of very good, which goes over Soulblight. Do they go over Soulblight? That's the thing.
We would have to play that one out. I honestly,
I think that's a pretty good matchup.
I think that they have more value than the Soulblight on the board. Yeah. I think that they're going to have no problem clearing out the skeletons because of the dudes with the swords, and so the skeletons are gone.
And then the big chunky dudes get rid of the cavalry.
Yeah, and then I have more coming in turn 3 than you do as the Soulblight. Yeah. I have Yndrasta and 3
And by
dudes.
turn 3, I bet both skeleton units would probably be dead at that point.
The dudes with swords are built to deal with the stuff that everything coming in turn 3, they're going to deal with everything else, right? Yeah. I think it is a very good Spearhead. I think ultimately I think ultimately your choice of regiment ability doesn't matter too much.
You just have value in the units themselves.
You just have good data sheets. So that for me,
top of very good.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think so.
I'm fine putting them in
they're broken
very good tier
because they come in later.
Yep.
There's other armies on here that like I think the Sylvaneth would outscore them early on.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So like because of their maneuverability, and the Tree Lord has nothing to worry about for the most part until Yndrasta gets there.
Yeah.
So So yeah, we'll go into very good with that. So the very next one is one that we recently just played, not on camera yet, but will be soon, is the Ossiarch Bonereapers. They are the definition of boring to me.
We had a good match.
We had a good match
for sure. Right?
But when I look at their abilities, what do you get? It has the worst cavalry in Spearhead, in my
disappointing
opinion.
cavalry.
No reinforcements. Yes, you can bring back your little dudes with the big guy.
Yeah.
But he has to buy stuff, and he's slow, and
And he can just die.
And he just died.
Sometimes he'll just he didn't die in our. I guess spoiler alert for our guy. Never mind.
He never died, but
he wasn't part of the combat.
In the fighting on even this, it's like 4s to 4s.
Yeah.
The Mortek Guard might have been a little bit better. They're 3s to 4s, but they had an anti-charge. They actually get a rend when you charge them.
Yeah.
So going first is not great for them.
You're not seeing more than really -1 on anything aside from the Harvester.
The spears on the chart on the horses have a -1, but I still don't like.
Their hero is
3 to 4.
Their hero isn't anything to write home about. The cavalry are disappointing.
They
3
attacks, hitting on 3s, winning on 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage.
Yeah.
They get +1 damage if they charge, but so it is comparable to others, but 3 to 4 sucks.
Yeah.
Most of the other ones are 3 to 3s.
That force kills you. Yeah.
Or maybe 4 to 3s, but I don't know. I mean, 4-up save, 3 health.
They got the ward, only a 4-up save.
Yeah.
4-up's not bad. Just when you're running into something with rend, suddenly you're saving on 6s into 6s. And
playing them was fine. I'm teetering on boring and fine, to be honest. It's one of those ones I don't know where I want to put them.
Yeah.
Personally.
Their faction mechanic just doesn't really make you win games.
The whole commands thing. It's just like you get some dice and then you can use extra
buffs.
commands on your guys.
Right.
It didn't really affect much when we played.
No, yeah.
Maybe one time. So I think they are the definition of boring.
That's fair. I would say you're the Death Master, right?
There are ones coming up that are better.
You have the final say on Death armies for sure. Mm-hmm. Definitely fine or boring for me. Yeah. I could see them competing better than Kharadron, for example, right?
I have them above the new Skaven and Kharadron.
Yeah, I think that they would win against the new Skaven, but
not the Fyreslayers. I think they hit too hard. I think they would get.
I think the Fyreslayers would do as long as Fyreslayers. They kind of really want turn 1, right? Mm-hmm. You need to get in there like that. So, but yeah, I agree. That's fine and boring there.
So, Nighthaunt.
Okay.
I know you had thoughts on Nighthaunt.
If you're ready for my essay.
Okay.
So Nighthaunt have a lot. How do I want to word this? Hold on. All right. So Nighthaunt for the Death armies, I think that they're not gonna definitely be a Soulblight, right?
No.
They're not gonna be the competitive A tier. So they have a lot of bodies. Yeah, they have that unrendable save, which is really cool.
It's hilarious.
They got a lot of really good tools, right? They can dish out strike lasts pretty relatively commonly. The problem with Nighthaunt, they're very recursive. They're very they're defensible, right? They can move onto the point, take those points, sit there for a while. They just can't do damage. Everything across the board for them.
That was our Tzeentch and Nighthaunt game, and Tzeentch isn't great at either.
Tzeentch is pretty flimsy, right?
And it was hard.
It's tough. Your main chaff is 4s into 5s, which is what clan rats get, right?
Yeah.
But
Crit's auto wound. I will say
the auto wounds it's gonna help. That's kind of the point where auto wounds is nice. But when you start running into Slaves of Darkness, when you start running into things with 3-up armors, you don't care about auto wounding as much because I'm okay with testing for a 3-up. I'm gonna make that more often than not, right? If it was crit mortals across the board, totally different story. The only place you can get crit mortals in there is on your leader with an enhancement, and I think that army needs its leader with the 3 spirit hosts being there tanking with it, right? Because that's the whole point. You need your leader.
5-up ward to other things.
You need your leader to be doing damage in that one. And if he dies and he's gone, which it is tough to kill him, that's all your damage gone. The Spirit Hosts don't do any damage. The Chain Rafts don't do any damage. The other Ghosts, and
they're necessary because they give him a 4-up ward.
Exactly. They're there to let you use him as a tool, right? But you have to be using him. You can't keep him back, and that means you have to risk him. And so you kind of have to play around that. So that's how I feel about Nighthaunt. While yes, they're going to do really well at like taking points, they have reinforcement on so much.
On chain rafts.
On like
just the chain rafts.
Just the chain rafts. Yeah. And don't they come in? You get a lot of ghosts on the board.
You get 2 units of 10.
You get a lot of ghosts on the board with that unrendable save and that ward. So they're going to stick around. But ultimately,
it was a fun game playing.
They're going to stick around for a while, but they're still going to die.
But that game was fun that we played.
They're very fun to play, right? Especially like as your opponent. I find them as a fun like opponent for me. They don't feel oppressive in the way other death armies do. At least not even just in Spearhead, in like actual Sigmar too. I feel, and I think that their level is even. I think that they are one of the most average armies. I think that if I was looking for a baseline, middle of the ground army, I would put them there because they're going to get their points, right? But they're never going to punch
I would
up.
almost say they are top of fine right now, above Tzeentch even.
That's fair, yeah.
Because I think they have... You could do more with them.
Yeah. I thought that was another one I thought a lot about.
Essay about
that's my essay about Nighthaunt. So,
well, do you want to talk about Flesh Eater Courts?
Flesh Eater Courts. That is who did I play when we played Flesh Eater Courts?
Maggotkin.
It was Maggotkin. Yeah. So the carrion retainers for the Flesh Eater Courts. I think Flesh Eater Courts have had a rough go of Age of Sigmar in general.
In this edition, especially.
Yeah. Last edition, I found them very powerful. I felt that was their big refresh, though, and every army is going to be pretty good around their refresh. I would hope so. Yeah. Looking at their current Spearhead rules, they got a buff. They got reinforcement tacked on to their Crypt Guard, which was really needed. Obviously, their whole thing is like the Noble Deed points and playing around their characters, right? In that army, you have one character who hits pretty good, pretty fragile.
Very fragile.
Very fragile. Like, does do good damage, but not fast, not tricky. Doesn't have to. You have another character now, the Courtier, or the Bat one.
The Vargolf Courtier.
Yeah, that one you can actually do stuff with, right? Because
it heals when it
heals when it fights, but it happens at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
So you still have to run in with him
and hope he survives.
You get to punch, right? He's gotta live though, and if he doesn't live,
so I've played with them and against them multiple times at this point, and I will say the Courtier dies pretty much turn 1 every time.
If you send him in turn 1, I mean, you better know exactly what you're sending him into, and you're just never going to because of the card system, because of just how many armies there are. You can't know every single thing.
I shouldn't say turn 1, but whenever he charges something, it dies.
He's got a big chunk of wounds, but I think it's like 4-up, 5-up armor save. Sure, the ward, and yes, he heals when he's done fighting, but he can't run away before that, right? So he's always going to take the clap back, and you can't always control that. So you have to be risky, and it's not reliable. So because of that, and then their Crypt Guard are like, bleh, right? Yeah. They're the chaff. They have reinforcement.
6-up save is...
Yeah. You always take the battle trait that lets them have the 5-up when they're on objectives, but it's like, I'm making a 6-up, a 5-up. That's like my army buff. Being able to regurgitate them later is great. Reinforcement's really good. I would rather have 20 Crypt Guard on the board than 10 and then 10, right? I have to use them. They have to die, and their whole point is to hopefully die slowly, so it's a contradiction.
And at least they can come back now.
They can come back now, thankfully. When they couldn't, it's not enough.
However, there is one shining star in this list, and that is the Morbeg Knights.
Yeah, really.
They, in my opinion, are probably up there, top 2 cavalry units.
Honestly?
In my opinion. Maybe even top 1.
I don't know about that. So 2 attacks each with their
3 attacks.
Is it 3?
Well, it's 2 and then 3 for their companion. But
the companion is the one that
companion is what makes up for
the
a
companion actually hits there. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to beat certain cav, right? I don't know about top best cav for me, but
so not the top, but I think up there the top 2 or 3.
Isn't their ability like retreat and
so they can still retreat and charge?
So it's a really good tool. You're right. Yeah. Still got that fragility, that not as fragile as other stuff, right? They got the ward and a 4-up armor.
Save.
Only 3 models makes it like, okay, once they start dying,
and that's probably where they get the buff from their companion, is because they only have so many models compared to other cavalry. But 2 attacks, 3 hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage, but charge plus 1 damage for their regular attacks. 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage on their companion. So they're definitely the best companion.
Their cav, they have useful cav as compared to some other spearheads where their hammer to their anvil just doesn't hit, right? Or they don't even have a hammer.
And this is a hammer that can move.
Yeah. So. And if it lives, retreat, fall back still.
Yeah.
Then the other problem I see with the army is all of their enhancements have to go on the wrong character. Your general is your 5 wound like leader type dude.
Right, where you'd want to put it on the courtier.
If you could put the enhancements on the courtier and give him, okay, this game he has this little trick now, or this, then you could find him a very useful tool.
That would be interesting to have them do 2 generals or something.
Like that. I think that's the core issue there is the general, which I understand why they did that, because I think that power could spike out of control pretty easily. But I think because of the body that it's on, I don't think it's that bad. So for me, that's where it leaves them. I couldn't put them in A, right? I couldn't put them as like a competitor army where they're going to be winning
fine.
Tournaments.
I
don't think that they're going to lose all the time.
They're not boring. They're fun to play. And they're not bad. All right, so the next one is Maggotkin.
I played Maggotkin.
You played Maggotkin against the Flesh Eaters.
I did. So
that was
a really
rough game.
And
it was fun, but it was like I can't move you.
A little bit of bias, probably, maybe, right? And I've only played one other game with Maggotkin since then, just not one I've seen a lot, which I'm surprised about because
they're really cool.
I just think that they are at least A tier. I might convince myself that they're S tier by the end of my rant.
Really?
So while the Blight Kings, there is a really good unmovable brick. Just tough to kill and does good damage. You have your throwaway tool in the little demons, right? Mm-hmm. You have a pretty decent leader, and then you got your fly. You got your fast little maneuver. It's not fast like other stuff, right? So no, I'm not going to be on my opponent's side of the board turn 1 scoring.
But I'm sitting on these objectives and you're not moving.
And so you have to. I'm taking the middle comfortably. So you have to come push me off the middle now.
And I couldn't.
Right? So turn 1, I move up on, maybe I shouldn't hypothesize about it, but you can take the middle very comfortably with I'm going to call them the Blight Kings because the whole unit is the whole army is kings to me now. And your opponent has to come answer that because you're just going to win over time because of that, unless they're playing.
But they are a spearhead where stuff comes in turn 3.
I think that is I really like that with there. Yeah. So you get a fly and another 5 demons later. If it was just one of those, not and that keeps the army in check, so it's not a broken army. Broken as in outside of our tier list, right?
Right. Might still be broken in our
tier list. Everything has a good defensive stat line, a relatively good. Again, you do have a throwaway unit that it's gonna die. Don't expect it to live. You get another one later though. The flies they do middle damage, but they're pretty beefy.
It's really the Blight Kings is where it shines.
You have the flies to go around and do your secondary objectives while you have a solid brick in the middle scoring your primary for you.
Yeah.
All with access to mortal wounds. This is the rant that this army makes me go on about access to mortal wounds. Everything has that army rule, so at the end of the turn, I can pick wherever I need to on the board, right? I have to be engaged for it to go off. I have to be there. But I get to pick, okay, I really need a little bit of more damage over here. Other armies just do not have a flexible tool like that. Where, okay, I have to roll for it. It's not always going to happen.
It's on a 4-up, but you can have up to 7 of them that you just spend.
I throw 7 dice in a turn, and I'm doing 3 mortal wounds where I needed to kill that. And it's mortal wounds, so I don't care what I'm putting it into.
Yeah.
Right? Not every army. This is why Nighthaunt is stuck where it is, because only one thing has access to crit mortals in an army without AP. So they don't have a lot of AP, but I've got mortal wounds everywhere. And sometimes that's all that's good enough, right? I'm getting wounds through. So definitely A tier. I think I've convinced myself. How many do we have in the S tier so
One
far?
right now.
We just have the one.
Sylvaneth.
We didn't put Soulblight in there?
No.
No?
I don't think they're.
I guess okay. So I know some other ones off the top of my head going in there.
Yes,
I'm
at
tempted.
least one more. Yeah.
I as it is now. When we look at it again later, maybe I'll drop them back down to just the good tier. To me, I think that they're an S tier. I think that they have the raw value that you're looking for. That they're always gonna. You don't have to think too hard. Sure, that might make them a little bit boring, but I don't think so, because between the Mortal Wound mechanic giving you a lot of cool decision making, and you have flexibility later on in the game leading to more fun decision making about where do I come in and why. So
you know what? I agree. I'm not going to be talking a lot this video because I'm not the analytical
you don't even
one.
have to say
this
anything
is great. I love this. I'm just like, yeah, I'll just move this here, move that there. Whatever you think.
I got my
When I have an opinion, I'll give you an opinion. But speaking of opinions, Gloomspite.
Gloomspite. Actually, this might be the army that convinces me to drop Nurgle out of that.
We just put it up there.
I know. I'm glad you said Gloomspite is one where I really think they are a contender for top tier, A tier, if not S tier. I mean, so yeah, your 5 Boingrop Bounders don't come until turn 3 anymore. But you have better recursion than the new Skaven Spearhead. Not only is your leader shoving D6 models back into one of them, but you can also have your battle trait shoving D3 back into 2 units of 10 gobos that have -1 to be hit built in. I think you have to roll for it, but they have a rule to be -1 to be hit just built into their stat block.
Yeah, on a 2-up.
Yeah, on a 2-up, right? Sure, sometimes you're gonna roll 1 on that, but that's different. Like, Strike and Fade is such a core critical component of Sylvaneth. I roll a 1 and I'm screwed. Here, I roll a 1 there. It's like, okay, doesn't matter.
I'm gonna get back D6
I'm gonna get D6 plus D3 back in a second, right? So on top of the Boingrop Bounders can run in and do some good damage. They've got a decent anvil. The Boingrop Bounders can jump in, do some pretty good damage.
Boing, boing, boing.
Boing, boing. That hammer got cut in half, right? So now you have to use half the hammer in the first half of the game, half the hammer in the second half of the game. Arguably a buff, right? Now I'm not spending all of my power early on. I have a little bit saved for later. Like in 40K, people keep stuff in Deep Strike on purpose to save it for later, right? Mm-hmm. In some ways, that's kind of a buff.
and then there's the Troggos.
And then you get Trogs, right? On top of everything that I just talked about, you get Trogs.
That's all we have to say. You get Troggos.
They're big, beefy. They've got 5 health each.
They 4-up save,
4-up that can become a 3-up because of the Light of the Bad Moon.
Right, which is another thing, is you pick a side. Their range attack is pretty fun. It's only 1 attack, but hitting on 5s, winning on 2s, 2 Ren, D3 damage.
D3 damage, though.
Their main attack is 2 attacks each, 4s to 2s to 2s to 3s. 3 damage.
3 damage, right?
2 Ren.
And end of turn, heal D3.
Yep.
Right? End of any turn. So you're healing 2d3 4d3 throughout the whole game on them, right?
I would put them in the broken category.
I think that these are ones that
honestly, almost at the top of the broken category.
Yeah, these are contenders to win. I mean, every game I have against them is a struggle, even when I'm playing the armies that I think are top contenders.
Right.
So they're a good one. Yeah. All
right. Well, another one that you played relatively recently, Lumineth.
Lumineth. So that was a bad showing for the Lumineth. I think they deserve another one that I thought a lot about. Some of these I didn't like. For example, Gloomspite I didn't think a lot about.
It's just like they're
immediate.
Good.
I know that they're really good. Easy S tier. This one's tough because I don't want to put them. I'm really trying not to put anything in the bad tier, to be honest.
It's hard. Honestly, other than the Overlords, for me, are personally a bad tier, but for the sake of it, I'm putting them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any in here that are honestly terrible.
Other
than those.
No, me neither. So the Lumineth Realm Lords, they have some interesting army mechanics where you can fight twice in a turn. They've got elf bodies that hit good, don't wound great, but do have pretty solid saves. They've got a decent anvil in the spear wall that can come back with reinforcement. They've got some, unfortunately, what I find to be just pretty okay shooting. It's got good range, but we run into the problem of it's easy to touch my opponent's guns and stop them from shooting. on top of they're just not exciting bows. Like -1, 2 shots, hitting on 3s, maybe 4s if I up the like they're just not exciting. Your hammer in the elite sword dudes, while they have a lot of good access to mortals, which I think every army needs.
Crit mortals is nice.
Then they've got the option to just say, okay, I roll 5 dice, and how many 3-ups do I get for a mortal?
Yeah, like an ability, yeah.
And you can crit on 5s. You can get some, like, they can do some damage. In our game that I played with them, they ended up not getting into combat because they were, like, they didn't get a chance to shine. So I think they do have a good tool in there. I think that the rest of their list is just disappointing, lackluster, and I think when the army is tacking reinforcements onto everything that it has, that's just a good warning sign, right? That's a red flag of, like, this stuff just isn't good enough, so here, you get it again later. But, like, and while in our game, right, the spear dudes came back and failed their 3-inch charge because of course they did.
So sad.
It was sad. Like they didn't get their opportunity to shine, right? So the bad showing in that video. I don't think that video is a fair assessment of them. However, because of their showing there, on top of just when I read through them, they're not one that I wouldn't want to run them if I want to win, right? If I'm sitting there sweating, I put my deodorant on, I care. I wouldn't bring Lumineth. So there are other armies that shoot better. There are other armies that recurse better. There are other armies that punch better. There are other armies that play the objective better.
I think they're just boring.
They're kind of boring. And the answer to them being boring was I think they already had reinforcements on everything anyways. So it's like,
Next one I want to talk about is another new one that fought the Lumineth. Warclan's Bigmob, I think is
Ironjawz, right?
Yeah, the Ironjawz Bigmob. So I did play them incorrectly in the video, where I was doing that extra movement every turn instead of once.
Every video.
It's once per game.
Right, every video, both of us play things incorrectly. Yeah.
However, even with me not even doing that,
I don't think that changed.
It didn't change anything.
Most of it was just kind of like.
The reason I know this is because we recently just took them to a big tournament. And they just smashed all the competition.
Yeah.
They were just so good. 3-up saves. That once per game ability to make them all move an extra 3 inches during hero phases. Mm-hmm. And then you still have it on 1 unit per turn anyways. So, like, it's just really good. There's the regular chaff, the Ard boys, just like, hey, you're in combat with me, take a mortal. Like, anything that can do mortal wounds. All 3-up saves.
That access to mortals lets you punch up into the spearheads that you need to. For them, it's punching into, not punching up to be honest. I think you hit the nail on the head with your hammer of 3-up armor save bodies with 2 wounds
Brute
each.
Ragers have strikes first when they charge.
Strikes first when you charge. The hero is a good hero. Actually hits good number
especially
of
if some
wounds.
Enhancements to make it even better.
Yeah.
I mean, its damage it hits on 4s, wounds on 2s.
Yeah.
1
and then the really important tool, like you don't see, not most armies don't have access to it, is out of sequence movements, right?
Right, during the hero phase.
That's where everybody, I don't know about everybody, but I always hear people who are better than war games, better at war games than me,
and
the games won and lost in the movement.
Not only just your hero phase, any hero phase.
Any hero.
So I get to pick 1 unit, with not using the once per game thing, 1 unit during each of our hero phases to go 3 inches.
It is a subtle tool, but it is a powerful tool.
So to me,
when you have the bodies that you have with that rule, right?
Now
it's
they don't.
So good.
Now, of course, they don't have any like reinforcements or anything like that.
No, right? But they don't need it.
They don't need it.
Yeah.
They don't. I didn't really lose many models in our game. I lost maybe.
It was a good showing for them, right?
Yeah.
But I think they were fine, right? Into better armies, they still compete. So.
Yeah, so I kind of want to throw them up into broken because I've seen them wreck house.
You've seen them more than me too, so I'm willing to agree with that.
I think
I could see them. Actually, you're probably right. Those are the ones that should knock Maggotkin out of S tier.
I think they're much better than Maggotkin.
Yeah,
they could get rid of Maggotkin.
I agree. You're right. And we got to keep S tier. I think a little restricted. So I want to try to.
Sylvaneth.
So, yeah.
I still think might outmaneuver them.
I think so. I think Sylvaneth will play the board better.
But I definitely think they're in S tier,
yep.
or broken tier as we call it.
I agree.
And I'll move Maggotkin in the very good.
Yeah, you're right. They would not beat Ironjawz. Ironjawz would beat Maggotkin, I think, pretty consistently. So
going from one orc clan to another, you played the other one.
Cruel Boys,
Cruel
yeah.
Boys.
So that was a really interesting matchup we had too, because I think that was like one of the very few cases where the anti-monster bow could actually work, right? And so that's kind of the theme of Cruel Boys, of inconsistent and situational, right? It's going to depend if what's across the board doesn't have a monster, like your most powerful tool is now completely unreliable, because first it has to hit on 4s. Then it has to wound on 2s, sure, -2. And this is most big thing, it's D6 damage, though, right? Whereas other cannons, like I'm pretty sure the city's cannon is like D3 + 3, right? It's more consistent damage. So you have your Great Bow. You have a good tool in the boss on Doggy. 3-up armor save, I think 10-inch movement, like moves fast, good chunk of wounds, -2 damage, maybe only -1, 2 damage, but 2 damage weapon, that's pretty good. It's not even charge +1 damage, just always 2 damage. So like a good tool there, a good gun. Disappointing screen in your 2 sets of 5 stinky Cruel Boys. And then what else? And then the Banner Bearer, you get an extra character. Like he has crit mortals, can do some damage. Like I don't think that this is one of the armies where when I was looking online, I was seeing a lot of people putting in F tier. Honestly, I don't think they deserve F tier. I think they deserve a boring tier of they have kind of a one note. They've got probably the worst version of this play style of army with big gun and then stuff in front of it.
Yeah.
I think they probably got the most boring version of that.
Sure.
Cruel Boys, while I have a soft spot for my Cruel Boys, I love my Cruel Boys. I love the big bird. I love them in actual AOS. In Spearhead, they're not one I bring when I want to compete.
When you just,
So, yeah.
This next one is the weird one out of all of them.
Aren't they all weird?
Well,
Yeah.
This one's even more weird because they're just like, oh, we had this box that gave you 3 of these, so here's your Spearhead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sons of Behemat.
Have you ever seen anybody play the Sons of Behemat Spearhead outside
Of me?
of our video?
No.
That's part of my problem. I haven't truly stress tested them.
So I've played them. We did a tournament. I played them in a tournament.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did the whole tournament with them. That's right. Not the whole, but you did that one day at least.
So
yeah.
the only thing that beat me was Sylvaneth.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The other two that because I have 3 models.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do?
3 giants.
Yeah. Every other army, it was either not close at all or pretty close.
Yeah.
So they're not bad. They're not boring. I think they're actually hilarious to play.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't think they're boring at all.
It's been so long since I played them too.
Because
they're one I'm not sure about.
They would be worse if they didn't have reinforcements.
Yeah.
If you only got 3 dudes.
That makes sense.
But you get
That's
5,
not enough.
technically.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly don't think they're fine. I almost want to put them in the very good.
You do, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I've won with them more than I have lost with them. Mm-hmm. And yes, and the only ones that have really beaten me are the ones that are in the broken category.
Sounds like they're above average regardless.
They're above average.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how they play against Maggotkin, actually, now that we just put them into very good.
Yeah.
Because if I could beat Maggotkin, then I'd be like, okay. Maybe.
Then you'd know. Yeah.
Then I would know.
Yeah.
But for right now, I think they would struggle against the Adrasta, for sure.
I think so.
Because the Adrasta just comes in and
she's got an anti-monster.
She's got 2 turns
javelin,
to kill 2 guys.
Right. Yeah. That's one of those weird matchups of like I think Cruel Boys just did pretty okay into them. I think just because anti-monster bow.
You got the instant kill with your bow one time, but then once that happened, that was it.
Yeah.
And you had 4 more to deal with.
I had 4 more to deal with on top. And that's what else is going to kill those other 4, right? Yeah,
exactly.
So
I don't think they're better than Soulblight, but I do think they're probably better than the old Skaven.
Potentially, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I think if they can get through the wall of rats, because the wall of rat, like you're gonna have to get through the clan.
As long as
rats.
the cannon doesn't just like nerf one.
Yeah, and that would be a good matchup there. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy putting them in the good tier for sure.
Yeah,
and
above that.
With some more games and seeing them stretch a little bit.
They're
more.
probably the one I've played the most, mainly because it's just 3 models.
It's nice and easy.
It's nice and easy.
Yeah.
So I have had a decent amount, and
they are fun. Like
I mean, they hit on like 4s, wound on 2s.
Yeah.
2 damage, 1 random.
They've got the 4s and the 2s
have 3
profile.
They have multiple attacks.
Yeah.
They have a ranged attack, and then they have like 3 melee attacks, which is unheard of in most of these lists.
Yeah.
So, and then their ability to just grab guys and eat them is hilarious.
Yep.
So I think they're pretty good, especially against infantry.
Yeah.
More of the infantry heavy list.
Yeah.
When you get into the more elite, they might start to struggle.
Makes sense.
Ogres, I think, could take them out no problem.
You think so? Yeah. Ogres can really punch.
But
so,
we're getting
yeah, we'll get there. You're right.
I would say very good.
I'm happy with them and very good too. Yeah.
So the next one, I've only ever played once, and I've only ever seen it played once. That was when I played it. So, and it was against Matt. This is the one I played against Matt on the channel.
Yeah.
When I played Daughters of Khaine.
Yeah.
And he had the Idoneth. He did misplay the Idoneth, so it did kind of swing his way a little bit more. But I still don't think they're great.
Okay. Daughters of Khaine, probably one of the best shooting units in the game in the Bloodstalkers.
Mm-hmm. They never even got to attack in my game.
No.
So I don't even have any good reference point to how they
That's
they
fair.
play.
I mean, it's 5 models, 3 shots each, like that. Like I remember when I was looking through them, like probably some of the best guns, like one of the best archer units in the game.
Sure.
Come with -1 on it. You only get 5 of them. You can put models back into that unit.
Crit auto wound.
Everything else around it, though. So the Witch Elves, yes, you get 2 units of 5 that have reinforcements, and yes, they move fast, charge. They don't have any natural access to strikes first. So yes, you're gonna get that first pick of fighting on your turn, punch in with all their attacks that are maybe Rendmoen, right? Mm-hmm. Kill a couple things. But now your opponent gets to punch into the other squad of 5 and kill them with their 6-up armor save, 6-up ward before they even get a chance to fight. Mm-hmm. Should have just been 1 unit of 10 that had reinforcements,
Makes
to
no
be
sense,
honest.
Their cavalry. This is the cavalry that has
Doomfire Warlocks.
Reinforcements. This is what I was thinking of earlier.
I think that's a really cool tool.
And it has ranged attacks.
Right. The ranged attacks suck.
I mean, they do, but they have that
It's
option.
there, right?
Yeah.
And you got reinforcements. So that lets you, turn 1, I can go secure, take their, or like, go, I can go secure those objectives far away from me, nice and quick, right? Then they're going to die. And then I can bring them back and do it again.
But the other thing is they have mortal wound capabilities with their hero phase ability. Mm-hmm. They've cast a spell, and they can do up to 3 mortal wounds on a 6-up.
That's helpful. They are. I mean, they're always the definition of glass cannon, right? Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of access to pushing some damage out, but they're gonna die really quickly. And
they did.
Battle traits just aren't crazy exciting to me. Like when I look at the Blood Rights thing, turn 1 +1 to run rolls. Okay.
If you go in second, it's useless.
Yeah, like turn 2, add 1 to charge rolls. Okay.
That would have been better as a turn 1.
I appreciate it, but I'm not really wanting that to win my game. Mm-hmm. Turn 3, I finally get +1 to hit.
Yeah, turn 3 and 4 is really where you get it, but at that point, they're gone.
My reinforcements are coming in, right?
Maybe.
And maybe they probably died by that point because they're Witch Elves and Doomfire Warlocks. They're really flimsy. But like, okay, finally I'm getting +1 to hit on turn 3. Like my army doesn't get the buffs there's no, like, the buffs aren't exciting. It's not enough to really send the data sheets that they have upwards. So to me, I don't see this one performing well against most spearheads. Most spearheads, I think it's just going to kind of trip over itself running at them, trying to kill them, because you're going to get screened out and then your stuff's going to die. And then your opponent probably has its screen coming back at the same time that your second wave is coming in. So.
And that's kind of how it felt when I played them.
Yeah.
Like, especially when I went second.
Yeah.
And that was not good.
Like I said, really exciting archers. Like, that's an army I'd love to have one day, is a Daughters of Khaine army of just all snake ladies, because I think that's cool. Like, good cool factor. I think that they they're kind of a one-note play style. I mean, Witch Elves run forward, charge, hit, die, right? You have a fun tool in the Warlocks and the Horse and the Archers, but they're just always going to lose into certain spearheads. And so I could never put them above fine. They're one that I want to leave down at D tier.
Boring. They're boring.
They're boring, and I don't know. I think Kharadron would beat them.
Really?
Yeah. I think that they would lose to Kharadron on average. Even their damage, like, yeah, they've got a few mortals.
Do you think Cruel Boys could beat them?
Because they would charge in, kill the orc screen. I don't know. I don't know if they'd. I don't know. I think that they could beat Cruel Boys. I don't know.
It's just a matter of where I put them on my list
pretty
here.
Good. For me,
There's quite a few boring on this list.
Yeah. I think that they can compete because they have reinforcements on everything. If they didn't get that reinforcements on everything, they would be bad, right? You at least have the opportunity to play the game with them. Yeah. So I can't put them any higher than boring, and it's tough for me to put them even there.
So the next one is one that did get a nerf because it needed it. Ogres.
The buff hurt my feelings. Is how I feel about it. I think...
You mean the nerf?
I'm sorry, you're right, nerf.
Because it's not a buff.
I wanted it to be a buff, right? I feel like your ogres are good. Ogres are an easy A tier when you look at it.
I think they were broken before.
I agree.
They are now in a very good place, but only because you get half your army later.
Half of your army starts off the board and doesn't come in. That's the only, and it's so the ogres themselves, good bodies. While they don't have a good armor save, chunky. 4 wounds a model, I'm pretty sure, right? Aren't they 4 attacks each?
Yeah.
4, like that before you started the game with 6 models, 4 wounds each, right? 6, 12, 8, 24 wounds with 3, 6, 12 times 4, 12, 24, 30, 48 attacks hitting on 4s. That math's probably wrong there. But regardless, they have a lot of attacks that, yes, hit on 4s, but wound on 2s. -1, 2 damage.
The 2 damage is a big deal.
On all of it. And Spearhead. So I don't really have a problem getting in your face on turn 1. Like, yeah, they're a little bit slower. I don't have a lot, but I can literally just give myself +1 to like my charge rolls, like as my battle trait. So ogres, I think, are really strong. They have the good infantry there. They have a good leader that claps. And
he's one of the best leaders in the game.
He punches too. He's up there with
he's got a
3 damage fist, I'm pretty sure. Right?
It's he's up there with the Ironjawz.
Yeah, he is. Good leader. You got guns. You get to start the game with some guns on the board too. Like lead not belchers, only do you have the man-eaters, you got the lead belchers, which the shooting, that's not the exciting part of the army, to be honest. Like the guns that you get, they're never gonna kill a whole unit, right?
You got their Morfang pack, which is 6 wounds.
Coming in turn 3, you get the 2 dudes with 6 wounds with 2 damage hits on top of the cannon coming in, shooting, making a 6-inch charge, doing damage, doing mortals on the charge. They're a turn 3 army, right? Turn 1, you are, especially now with the nerf, knocking you down to 8 models on the board, turn 1.
Something like that.
Yeah. Your job, turn 1, is to just secure your half of the board, make sure you're getting your minimum scoring on primary, maybe scoring a couple cards. Turn 3, you wipe off whatever's left, and then you just own the board. Right. So, ogres are the army that I became the shop champion with. I mean, yeah.
Before nerf.
Before nerf, 100%.
Yes.
And the nerf really, was it enough? I don't know.
Was it enough to take them from broken?
I don't think so.
No.
I think that they are still perfectly fine. I think that the nerf of making something come in later in the game is not even necessarily a nerf.
So, just consider this, though. This is where we have right now. Gloomspite is top of broken at the moment.
Yeah.
Then I've got Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
Then I got Ironjawz.
Yeah.
Where do they fit in there? Because I think they could deal with the Ironjawz.
I think they could. I think that they would be fine against Ironjawz.
I almost think they could deal with the Sylvaneth. By turn 3, at least.
They did. For me?
Oh, yeah, because
so for me, that last game of that tournament was Tree Lord rolled a 1 on a strike and fade. And that's what informs much of my opinion. Ogres are more
consistent.
Exactly. Like even hitting on 4s with everything, that is like they don't need the tricks, right? They don't need the, okay, I'm going to strike and fade. Now I can maneuver around on my turn. I just have meat, man. I've just got big bellies, bigger fists, right? And those fists are going to punch you and they're going to hurt. right? And it's all with AP, right? It's all
And
at
2
least
damage.
-1, 2 damage.
2
so yeah,
damage.
like 3-up saves, 4-up saves, right? But like 4, I don't know. Like again, ogres, I think that they would beat those. I think that
Do they beat Gloomspite?
I think Gloomspite has enough on the board to give them a run
slow
for
them
their
down.
money,
Yeah.
right? They've got that really good chaff screen that I think could actually, especially with the nerf to ogres, right? But for pre-nerf, I was having all 6 man-eaters together, right? And they would run forward and just delete whatever they touch. Now I only have 3 dudes to run forward. I don't think those 3 dudes could clear off a screen of goblins. So I think that they would struggle into there. I think that they'd be pretty fine into Ironjawz. I think Sylvaneth, it all comes down
Might
to...
be a toss-up.
It's a bit of a toss-up, I think, because it's how well does the Sylvaneth player do on scoring their objectives, and how much can the ogre do in those first 2 turns to keep
them in line,
to keep
to
them
where
in
they're
line.
not getting outscored.
So where turn 3, I'm coming in and dominating the board like I need to.
So you know what? I'll put them between Sylvaneth and Ironjawz for now, and if we have thoughts about it later, before nerf, they would have been before Sylvaneth.
Before nerf, I think that they were a little,
But-
and even then with the nerf, I still think like
it's a toss-up.
yeah,
Absolutely.
things. It's a bit more even now. So
next one is going to be Dark Oath, the new
Dark Oath.
Slaves to Darkness.
yeah. So in our game, it wasn't our game. It was Slaves.
It was Slaves of Darkness versus Slaves of Darkness,
right?
So you know what we'll do is we'll just talk about both of them right now.
I think so,
because
yeah.
they're the same faction.
Yeah.
I have both of them right here. So I'll start with the Naked Dark Oath.
Yeah, why don't you go on about the Dark Oath? You
So,
played them, so
I did play them. I actually think they were fun to play. I liked their card, and I'm talk a little bit more about mechanics, but their card mechanic was cool. Being able to save commands for later turns.
giving yourself mini objectives in the game.
It
to
only
work towards.
honestly kind of came into effect maybe once.
Yeah.
Where I got to use a card. Maybe it might have been twice. I don't fully remember. But it was still cool, and I had a lot of fun doing it. However, I did go against the other Dark Oath.
You went against the other
Slaves of Darkness, which not the best pairing, but I think it was funny.
It was a good video.
It was a good video, and I didn't do too well. Mainly because they're all 5-up saves.
Yeah.
They have no rend.
Yeah.
Against a 3-up save.
That video, I mean, is probably a great showing of, I don't know, about just how Spearhead is, right? I mean, like, it does kind of come down to what's the value I have on board versus what's the value you
They
have.
do have reinforcements on Cavalry
Yep.
and on their Marauders,
Yep.
which is nice. And that did come to effect
Helps,
to help.
yeah.
Get
It
me
lets
some-
you play the game.
It got me some more scoring in that
Yeah.
game. But I don't think it was too close.
I don't remember that game being super close.
Against
No,
any other army, against any other, like, 4-up army.
Yeah. Against any of the mid-tier armies, you're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're not very good, I don't think. I think they are in the middle of fine. Probably above, I would say they're above Nighthaunt. Right now I have Flesh Eater Courts at the top of fine. I
Yeah.
almost think they might be better than Flesh Eater Courts.
I'd put Flesh Eater Courts near the bottom of fine.
At the bottom of fine.
Near the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think that... Do I think they're better than Nighthaunt? I think they're worse than Nighthaunt, honestly. I think you like them a bit more than I like them, to be honest. So I think somewhere right
I have
around
cities
the
at the
middle
bottom
there.
of fine right now.
Do you? Yeah.
It goes cities, Tzeentch, Nighthaunt, Flesh Eaters.
Yeah. See, I'd put... it's like the ordering at the levels I don't care too much about. To me, that's a really tough... My brain can't differentiate.
They're all
that
kind
well.
of toss-ups.
It is.
So
Once you're at the same level, it's about a toss-up.
I think the Dark Oath are better than the Nighthaunt.
I think on average they should be because they've got
they all hit
similar
around
amount
they
of
have the same kind of
reinforcements.
stuff. Yeah.
They don't care about unrendable saves because they don't have rend anyways. They do, it's minimal, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they are another one, much like the Cities of Sigmar, and they probably should be right around the Cities of Sigmar because at the end of the day, it's going to depend on what you draw from that deck. If you draw 3 cards that are actually
they are
useful
very
to
similar
you,
play style.
if those 3 cards just do not help you in that moment, your army mechanic is now useless for this battle round. It's not,
and then you're relying on your data sheets, which are not great.
which are just not. They're not going to carry you, right? So I
don't know.
They're in the mid tier there. I think you can do some. You can play the game with them. You can have fun with them. So that makes me want to bring them out of
I
boring.
might put cities up a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think that Cities is better than Dark Oath. But
yeah, okay.
They're also ones that we haven't played a ton of.
Yeah,
so.
I need to play more of them.
Yeah.
So from one STD to another.
From one STD to another.
This one is all you because you've played this one more than me.
What's it called again? Bloodwind Legion. That's right. Probably the Spearhead I have played the most, the Bloodwind Legion.
Yeah.
Recently caught a nerf, much deserved nerf.
But it's on turn 2 cavalry.
That's especially when I look at what happened to ogres, right? Where almost half of the army that they start with on the board got knocked back to turn 3. Okay. No, that's probably a good.
And that's most of the.
That's
armies.
Probably a good nerf to the ogres.
Yeah.
Like they're a turn 3 and 4 army. Like okay, sure. Turn 2.
For the best cavalry in the game.
For what I'm gonna argue here in a second is the best cav in the game. Yeah, like it. What I'm surprised that was it. Right. I'm surprised, and I guess part of that is like, oh, we buffed other things in different places by giving them reinforcements, but like. Honey, you could reinforce some of these things over and over and over, and I don't think that it would stop this unit of cavalry.
That cavalry is so scary that when we played our game, I had to just focus. I took a double turn 2, at my detriment because I needed to kill as much as I could and score as much as I could before they came in because I was scared.
Because rightfully so. I mean, you've seen them in the tournaments we've played before that game. Like this Spearhead always does well. I mean, so this is where like just raw value, like good bodies across the board, 3-up armor save, right? We have a good leader. We have 2 units of 5 good bodies of infantry with good attacks, with -1 rend, with 2 wounds, 3-up armor save. Then you get the Chariot, which the Chariot sucks.
The Chariot is honestly, it's just there for when you first play it, and you're like, oh, I want to get rid of the Chariot because that looks scary.
You can use it as distraction Carnifex. Yeah. It's big. It's a wall. If you want to say, I don't want my opponent to be here for this turn, you put the Chariot in the way. And it's so big, you can't really get around it. Especially when you have 3-inch combat ranges in this game, right? Like, you have an extra bubble around it. And so it's fast, so you can maneuver on turn 1. I need to go get to that side of the board for this objective. Chariot, thank you. Or like, I want to go take that objective in the Chariot. Thank you. Don't care if it dies, because it's not my damage piece anyways. It's your fast tool for maneuvering around the board when you need to get those couple extra points you want to sneak out like that. It's a wall. It's a distraction Carnifex, because against fresher players who've never played it before, you see the big Chariot and you're like, oh, I gotta take care of that thing. But it's the cavalry.
When we first started playing Spearhead, I was like, oh yeah, that thing's probably good, right? No, not really.
No, it's a nice. It's one of your tools to play the game with, right? It's not what's going to carry you.
However, everything else just doubles the effectiveness.
What is going to carry you, though, are the 5 Chaos Knights. So yes, they come in turn 2 now. I think they have to drop in 6 inches away.
Yeah, it's not like a typical.
It's not a great deep. It's not like super good, right? So that did bring them in line out of the outside of this tier list broken territory, but it's still 4 wound models, 3-up armor save. They move 10 inches. They control 1, sure. On the charge, they have -2 rend, 2 damage, 3 attacks hitting on 3s. And then their whole army rule is just almost always useful. Unlike some other army rules like the Dark Oath, where sometimes you're just going to draw 3 cards and nothing's going to be useful to you. Sometimes, like with the the Snake Lady, right? Sometimes that +1 run is just nothing. It's not helping me, right? I get a free roll on the Eye of the Gods table. All those buffs are almost always going to be useful for me in some way, right? Sometimes I get to pick exactly what I want. And so, yeah, it is a little bit of fishing with randomness there, but I'm never...
But they're all useful.
They're all useful. I'm never just screwed over without a buff. Sometimes the buff isn't great, and I don't really necessarily need it, right? But, so, so much value.
So you don't think they're broken anymore?
No, I think they're broken.
Okay,
I was like,
wait a minute.
No. I think pre-nerf, they were the #1 army in the game.
Oh yeah,
I really think that.
I could almost argue they still
are. They are still top 3, 100%. If we can only have 3 in the S tier, maybe we'll expand.
Well, we got
that
4
up.
right now.
I know we do. That's why I'm like, maybe we'll expand that to 5. Maybe we'll try and cut some of these out here yet. But S tier for me. They win me games almost always.
I'm going to toss up on whether they're better than Gloomspite.
I beat Gloomspite with them. In the tournament that we did, and consistently they beat Gloomspite for me. It's only 10 dudes. 10 dudes with 2 wounds, 3 attacks each, -1 damage. Might be only 2 attacks each, but still, like, everything there is good, right? And sometimes I struggle. Like, the only thing in Gloomspite that gave me a run for my money were the Trogs. They didn't have the Trog. Like, the Trogs were the one thing that were a wall for me I couldn't deal with. So,
but if you get rid of everything else, who cares?
Like, yes, it is a toss-up match. Like, I guess I'd have to go back and I'd have to ask Troy exactly how many times I played him, and we'd have to go through and see. I know he's beat me. I beat him. So those two are right near the top with each other for sure, I think.
I'm going to put them at the top right now just because...
I'm biased because...
In my opinion, I think they are the top.
I think so too still, even with the nerf that they caught. I think that they're still just raw value, best army in the game for Spearhead. So
next one is one that you didn't play with at all, and that's the Idoneth.
I didn't play. I played a game with Idoneth.
Oh, did you play?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. At least on camera.
On camera. I ended up playing Matt's Idoneth with, I forget who, some other person, but Idoneth I really like. I was really tempted to pick them up and paint them, and I really like the aesthetic of the army. Their rules, their data sheets themselves, I think, are good. So their chaff infantry can get up to -3 rend on their weapons between all the layers of buffs you can get. -3 rend, 2 damage if it's a monster. Their cavalry, while being only 3 models, starts on the board.
It's that once per game ability to just mortal wound you to death.
Yeah, they a good chunk of mortals, and they hit well themselves, right? The
big
shark. Hits pretty good, has a pretty good gun on it, fast, maneuverable, like... has tricks that you can do with it, right? Their army rule. Overall, it's the same thing as Snake Lady army, where, okay, half of these buffs just don't even matter, right? Half of the buffs, okay, turn 3 and 4, actually kind of useful. Turn 1 and 2, like, I think it's turn 1, -1 to be shot. Half the armies in the game don't have any shooting, right? So it doesn't even come into play. Turn 2, I think it was like +1 to run or charge or something negligible. It wasn't until turn 3 where I was getting a useful buff, right? And in Spearhead, if you're not a turn 3 army where you're having stuff come on in turn 3, I think you just need those buffs turn 1 and 2. Yep. So if that table were flipped upside down, then I think it would be a lot stronger. But so because of that, I can't put them, definitely not as...
They're not broken.
Right, they're not broken.
But they're very good.
I think that they have good stat line, like they have good data sheets, and that can put them into the good tier for me. That can put them into the A tier of, like, they can do well, they can kill stuff.
I would put them above...
They're definitely bottom of the A tier, I think.
So I would put them above Sons of Behemat, just because they have the capability of bringing down monsters.
I think they could deal with... Yeah, I think
I don't think they're better than Soulblight, though. I still think Soulblight has...
I think so. Yeah, I can see. The Soulblight would be a good matchup for them.
That's where they might have to, like, try to do a fight and see if they win.
Yeah.
We'll put them in a very good, right in the middle. So the next one is Blades of Khorne. I know nothing about them.
The Bloodbound Gore Pilgrims. Another one that I haven't actually played against, haven't seen in real life.
So neither have I.
I just don't know anybody with them. So I did a long time looking at their rules here just to try to get my best head wrapped around them. I watched like a battle report that I saw online with them. Overall, so a worse Slaves to Darkness is what I would describe them as. They have good cav. This is I can't think of anywhere else in the Spearhead game where I've seen a 2-up armor save. As we've been going through this list, I don't think we've seen one yet.
No.
This is the only place where I've seen a 2-up armor save. So I think that cav is a budget Slaves to Darkness cav. A little beefier, 3 models instead of 5 with the 4 wounds each. Like, good attacks, right?
Decent attacks,
Khorne.
Their companion that does decent damage.
Yeah, and 2-up armor save, so they're gonna stick around. Like, even when most armies most armies have 0 AP.
They inflict mortal damage,
right? Like, so most armies are not going to be able to deal with that unit alone, just because
no rend.
At best, they'll have -1 sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So just literally can't even kill it. But everything around it is less exciting, right? The Blood Reavers is kind of your chaff infantry. It's chaff infantry. I'm not too worried about it. You have a unit.
You could revive them and stuff. They have a 6-up save.
They got reinforcements.
Yeah.
So you've got your Chaos Warrior equivalent type unit that does pretty good. The big thing with them is they have out-of-sequence movement shenanigans. You can spend blood points, which you get blood points by doing things, and then also just whenever stuff dies, right? So you have to work towards it a little bit, but turn 2, you're going to have all of my army, move D6 inches. So like they have that important piece of out-of-sequence movement shenanigans that most armies just have 0 access to. You have to get blood points for it, and you have to spend 3. So you have to work towards it. You're not going to be doing it turn 1. But turn 2, once per turn, any hero phase, my whole army, D3 friendly units get to move D6 inches. So I have, and I can keep doing that, right? I have that tool to really cheat, right? It's cheating, for lack of a better word. I can move stuff outside of how it should normally be moved, so I can react to what my opponent is doing, move around a little bit. And just let me get closer so I can punch you like I want to punch you. So I think this army is going to be up there in the A tier. I think I don't think it would beat Slaves of Darkness consistently, because while they have similar stat lines across the board, I think one army has a generally better rule that is, the Eye of the Gods table is just going to generally be better. Mm-hmm. On top of, I don't have that chaff unit that's kind of just chaff, right? And right. I have strictly better cav. So they're not going to be the broken tier. I think that they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle against those ones at the very top, but they're going to do good against all the average armies, honestly, that don't have a lot of AP. I think those 3 dudes with a 2-up armor save alone carry this Spearhead.
Right. Currently top very good is Maggotkin. We got Yggdrasta, Soulblight, Idoneth, Sons of Behemat, Skaven, and then Stormcast.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Where do you think when there?
I think the new Skaven, because of the Mortal Wound gun, can answer some of the things that the Khorne list is bringing. I think the Stormcast Spearhead, I think it's going to be one that's I would call that one a fair fight. I could see that one going either way.
So I'll just put them at the very bottom of very good.
Yeah, they're in that very good range there. I think that they are a contender, right? They'll compete. So.
Absolutely. Next one that we have not played yet on the channel, have heard about them though, is the Hedonites.
The Hedonites. So
Hedonites.
I don't know. I have an English degree, but I'm not sure. Hedonites of Slaanesh, another one where it's a glass cannon. Right? I know what I'm getting when I'm buying this army. It's Slaanesh. It's a glass cannon. It moves fast. It hits hard. Pretty fragile, though. Comes with reinforcements on some things. Their army rule is interesting. I do like the idea of, Patrick, you want a 6 on that charge that you just failed?
No, because I'm going to deny you your army ability.
You want a 6? You want a 6. So it makes for an interesting and fun game, I think, right? I think it's a fun army rule in terms of power. The buffs that you can get out of it take a little bit to get there. And ultimately, my opponent can it does do mortal wounds when you say no, right? But my opponent has too much say in the power of that rule. My opponent's always going to get the final say.
Right, so you're relying on your opponent going, yeah, you can have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I don't think it's good enough to get you there.
It's thematic.
It's thematic. I think it's fun. I think it does give you opportunities to do things with the list. But when you look at the stat blocks that you're bringing with it, right, and it is fast-moving stuff that does do some pretty good damage with Rend on it, but it's all stuff with like 5-up armor saves.
Yeah. So I got them in fine. I think they're a fine army.
I think it's okay to leave them in fine there. I don't know if I'd call them bad. They're one that I haven't played with enough.
I don't even know if I'd call them boring, because I think the rule was kind of fun.
It's a fun rule, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't put them in boring because it is a fun rule. It makes for...
anybody playing them is going to have a good time.
It makes for a fun game with my opponent, right? It's not an art... Like Slaves of Darkness, I will say sometimes the game isn't fun for my opponent. It's just, I'm sitting here with stuff that won't die, that's killing you. and you just don't really have a lot of interaction with it. At least when I'm playing against Hedonites, like, I know I'm going to have fun even if I'm getting my butt kicked.
All right, so we only have one left.
Yep.
I made a few mistakes with the maneuvering, but that's okay.
The audience doesn't have to know. It's okay.
I totally forgot about Seraphon, and I didn't add him to the list.
You played them.
And
you painted them.
And I played them and painted them, and I loved them.
Yeah.
They're so fun.
Yeah.
They're
a good one.
So early on, when we started playing Spearhead, everybody was playing Seraphon because they were cool. The Carnosaur was a lot of fun. The Kroxigors hit like a truck.
Yeah.
And the Source Warriors, when they're just on objectives, they're kind of hard to move.
Yeah, yeah.
They get, I think a +1 to their save or something like that.
Yeah, if you take that battle trait, yeah.
So the Seraphon were interesting with their battle trait, not focusing on the army, but like just one specific model, and that's their leader, where it can roar, or it can do another attack and do some mortal damage and stuff like that, eating some models. And it's funny because there's literally only 3 units in this entire Spearhead. I think it's the least amount of type of models in a Spearhead, but it still works really well. The Kroxigors, again, are one of my favorite elite units because they're just such big beat sticks.
Yeah, they're good.
And the Saurus Warriors are just really good utility.
They're good infantry.
Yeah, they don't have nothing has reinforcements, which is unfortunate. But honestly, they survive.
They survive well enough.
Pretty well into turn 3, 4.
Yeah.
Most people try to focus the Carnosaur just because that is where a lot of your power comes from.
I think that's kind of the heel of the army, to be honest.
If it dies, turn 1 or 2.
It's only a 4-up armor.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as tough as a Tree Lord. Tree Lords have a 3-up. That thing only has a 4-up. So yeah, it's going to run in. It's going to kill stuff. But if you screen against it well enough and you focus your attacks well enough, you can kill it.
Yeah.
Right?
And then from that point, you got 2 units of Saurus Warriors.
The Kroxigor are good, right?
Which can come in and hurt you, but they're only 3 models. They have a 4-up save, 6 wounds, which is
they'll help for sure, and they'll kill something too.
But they are another Rend 1 2 damage type unit, which is really nice. But only hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s though.
Yep,
which is big.
If you can take care, like you'll have to deal with both those, both the big dinosaur and the Kroxigor. I would say that's what kind of makes or breaks the army is what happens to those 2 units, right?
You really know where it's going turn 1 or 2.
Yeah, and if you've lost the Carnosaur turn 2, it's Kroxigor are dying at this point. You really haven't done the damage that you need to, which happens sometimes with 4-ups on attacks. I mean, like 3 attacks on 4, sometimes you just miss everything, And that's this game in general, but like that's just to point out the fact that the Carnosaur, like, yeah, it's a big dinosaur, but it's not a guaranteed win.
That's why you buy the box anyways. You get a big dinosaur.
Exactly. You get a big dinosaur, and it's fun.
So I would say I'm kind of at a cross on whether to put them into very good.
Yeah.
Because I think they are good, but I don't think they're that
I think
high.
they go in good, in my experience with Spearhead, like when I was on my, not to blow smoke up my butthole, but when I was on my like win streak there and doing well with the tournaments we were running, I mean, I was beating, like my Slaves of Darkness were beating the Seraphon, like not well enough, right? I wasn't scared of the Seraphon.
Right.
So I knew that my knights could charge and kill the Carnosaur, so I just had to, either I got turn 1 and I charged and killed the Carnosaur, and this was, pre-nerf, or I screened well enough so I knew that I could do that.
Looking at what we have in very good, I don't. All those matchups I think would be good matchups.
Yeah.
I don't. Broken, obviously, I think they would struggle with because they have lower bottle count, and then if you get rid of that centerpiece, which a lot of them can, it would be hard. I think they're the king of fine.
Yeah,
like the top of fine.
That's fair. Yeah,
very low, very good, top of fine.
Yeah.
It's a very interchangeable there. But I need more in fine. It's the Seraphon going in fine.
I would lean toward the bottom of good.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fine place to put them at the top of fine there. I think that they will compete.
They are the best introduction to Spearhead army.
That's probably good. Yeah.
I think if you want to get a Spearhead and not build and paint too many models, boom, there you go.
And not have to worry about like having a good understanding of the game.
And it's good value. Like you get a really cool big monster.
You do. Yeah.
And we haven't really talked about a lot of value.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that part of this game.
Because this has been more about like how they play and like
this has been my essay on Spearhead army rules.
Yes.
So
but yeah, so As it currently stands, nothing isn't bad. However, asterisk, I still think the Kharadron Overlords
I think there's an asterisk there of with the most recent buffs to them, that certainly helps. Yes. And it lets them play the game, so they have the opportunity to win
a game or two. So right? I think that keeps it. Bad, I would say you're just losing all the time. No matter what you do.
It is still going to be an uphill battle for you, though. For what do we have there? Kharadron, and then what were the other ones?
So, going over the list here, we'll just start from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, we'll go top to bottom.
Or actually bottom to top, because that's even better.
That's better. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, at the very bottom of the boring tier, we have the Cruel Boys.
Yeah. It hurts me to have to put them there, but unfortunately their line infantry is disappointing. Yeah. They do have a good piece in the dog, but they're usually going to struggle, I think. So they are where they should be probably. So
from there we got Daughters of Khaine.
Yeah.
Again, fun, interesting, but little one note and very squishy.
Little one note, very squishy. Can't do the damage other armies can.
Kharadron Overlords is next, which, my own personal opinions aside, because of the buffs, they got up a little bit. A lot of reinforcement now. They got the blimp.
It's just, it sucks that the answer to a bad army is, okay, just bring it back if it dies. You know.
Yeah. Next step is bring the blimp back if it dies. It goes up to broken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like what else are we gonna do? Is bring the blimp back, right? Yeah.
And then we got the new Skaven. The new Skaven one.
New Skaven one is just a little too fragile and flimsy, and it's just not enough. It's not good enough. The other Skaven Spearhead really does seem strictly
It's a lot better, from my experience.
Yeah.
The Ossiarch Bonereapers, again,
we weren't excited by it.
I wasn't very impressed with them. The game was fun, I will say. The game we did play was decent.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't have the it doesn't have the data sheets to really perform well, and the rules around those data sheets aren't exciting.
And I will say, it did well against a very good army.
Yeah.
It's just that I think, in general sense, I don't think it would really do well against most of them.
On average, I think, It won't compete on average like others will.
Then we got Lumineth. The most boring of boring.
Pretty boring, unfortunately. Like, there's nothing really that exciting about them. Yeah,
And then the king of borings, Fyreslayers.
Yeah, they are the king of boring because they're going to beat all those other boring armies every single time.
I think so, yeah.
They're going to beat some of the ones above them, for sure, but it's going to be pretty boring during that time.
Yeah, you're going to be like, when is this over?
I move my dwarfs forward, my dwarfs charge, my dwarfs fight.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn.
And you know how, you know how I said how the Seraphon had at least a number of different types of units? Actually, they tie with the Fyreslayers.
Yeah, they tie with the Fyreslayers.
It's just a bunch of the same dudes.
3 data sheets.
From there, we go into the fine category. We got the Hedonites of Slaanesh.
Yeah, I would bottom of fine is.
I think is a good spot for them.
I mean, yes, they're gonna. I'm sure you're going to get a win or two every now and then, but I think normally...
As long as they keep giving into those temptations.
I think normally they're not going to do anywhere near enough damage to really do it right. So
from another Chaos God, Disciples of Tzeentch after that.
Yeah. I would flip those two, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Hedonites would do better against Tzeentch every time.
Okay.
I just... Like, Tzeentch is so mid and so... unimpressive.
You thinking maybe dropping down the boring?
They're not boring. I can't put them in boring because they do have, like, the fate dice is fun and cool and leads to interesting decision making, right? As you put those two next to each other, I think Hedonites will consistently win against Tzeentch.
I mean, so that's why just better. So it's fine. So from there, after swapping those two, we got Nighthaunt.
The most middle army for me. As middle as I can put them. They're just completely average. They don't have the tools to punch up, but
they have the staying power.
They lock out all those armies below them.
Yeah. All right, and then we've got the Dark Oath.
Dark Oath, strictly worse. I don't know about, like, strictly is such a harsh word, but I mean, they are just a worse cities. Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of work for the buff that cities just kind of gets because you have to,
Cities got a cannon.
Cities has a cannon, and you have unarmored horsemen,
which they are next, actually, right past Dark Oath. So.
I think that they are just strictly better than Dark Oath. Same gimmicks, same kind of rules around it. Like, just consistently gonna. I think they would consistently, like that. Like, and they're pretty middle armies. At the end of the day, you're gonna make or break your games based off what cards you draw with those two.
Yep.
So,
from there we got Flesh Eater Courts.
Flesh Eater Courts too reliant on that character, right? I think that's the big theme with them. Like, they're stuck. Like, you have to get noble deed points on your character, which means you have to send him in. And if he dies,
no more noble deed points.
No more noble deed points, and that's just like half of the whole thing. And then what else do you have? You have the Morbeg Knights, you have Crypt Guard, and then you have a below average character.
Yeah.
So I mean, they'll probably. Like those three right around there, I could like
interchange them.
I could interchange all those three, right? They're a little. I think that they'll do a little bit better than Nighthaunt on average, just because they do have those damaging tools, right? Like you said, the Morbeg Knights, like those can hit, right? That is an actual hammer that you have there, and your character, like if he does his thing, gets in, bites, lives, heals, right? Like when he works, but he's not always going to work, and when he doesn't work, he's just going to die, and you're going to lose from there.
Yep. And then at the top of Fine, we've got Seraphon.
I'm happy with them right at the top of Fine. I think, like I said, they are, if you play it wrong, you throw this has happened in games with them, you throw your Carnosaur in, because you're like, it's my Carnosaur, I'm going to run it in, it's going to charge.
And then 3 different units charge it. And then
that's the thing, right? Either you run into... In our game, whatever it ran into, it was ogres. I don't know. In games I've had with it, it's run into something, didn't kill what it needed to, and then now it's stuck, and now it's my turn. So now I charge it with everything else I have in my army. Carnosaur's dead. That's more than half your army in points in a way, right? Yeah. So right above Fine, I'm happy with that there.
The bottom of very good, we got Blades of Khorne.
I think, like I said, I think that they've got the value that you're looking for to be in the very good tier. They have a good hammer. They have a good anvil. They're one note, right? I mean, it's Khorne. What's Khorne going to do?
Blood for the blood guy.
Yeah, it's going to run at you and it's going to punch you to death. So they're not going to play the objective the way other armies can, but because of that, they're going to slaughter everything below them, right? They're going to show up. They're going to kill all those armies below them, wipe them off the board, and probably doesn't matter how many points you scored because you're just dead now.
Yeah, I just win by proxy.
So,
and then going from there, we have the new Stormcast.
The new Stormcast, still good because it's still Stormcast, right? Got that value of the good bodies with good attacks. They're the poster boys. They're gonna always beat the other Spearhead that they came in a box with, right? I think that they are just strictly better than, honestly. But they don't punch nearly as hard as some of the other ones. They don't have a lot of the good tools. So I'm happy with them and good. They're going to compete. They're going to have a fair shot against everything else in that list. But those ones above them, I think, are just strictly better.
That would make you happy going into this next one, which is the Old Skaven.
The Old Skaven. Yes, like I said, the better of the two. This is one of the ones where it doesn't have the raw value to be in this tier, but because of the tools around it, because of the screening capabilities.
If you were a good player, you make this army good.
Yes. It has the tools to be good. If
where
you could use
some of these
well.
more higher ones, you could be a mediocre player and still win.
Yeah, you don't have the experience of the game. You don't have all the cards memorized, so you don't know what you have to think about in future turns, right? But they just have the raw power to be competitors.
I think they could even... I believe they have the capability even punching all the way up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, they have the chance to win against those A-plus armies, right? On average, though, that Warp Lightning Cannon is going to miss. Yeah. And they're just going to lose from there. So, maybe not on average, but, like, that's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sons of Behemat coming after that one.
Sons of Behemat, one that I am afraid to leave in this tier because I have only played them once. Like, I'm surprised you and I haven't played more Spearhead games with them, to be honest, because you've played them more than me.
Well, we typically only play ones for the camera, and on occasion we play off camera for like a tournament.
But you've played the Ogre.
I did play him in a tournament.
You've played the Giants more than me, so you have more experience, and so that's why as I think about it, I
almost want to put him higher.
I think you made good arguments. So
I do almost want to put him higher, but at the same time, like I don't know if I can, because they are probably the swingiest out of all of them.
Yeah.
And it's really matchup dependent, because if you put them in against anything below here, they probably wreck.
Yeah.
Anything above them, They have monster killing abilities, except for like maybe the Cruel Boys, which are pretty low. But we saw that happen. It got rid of one giant, and it didn't matter.
Didn't matter, right? Yeah.
Whereas some of these other armies have multiple ways to get rid of monsters.
Yeah, and just the rest of their stuff is good enough.
And only hitting on 4 sucks. It really sucks.
It's some days it's just going to be all 1 season.
And I'm in the tournament games I've played. That's when I really get wrecked. His dice rolls.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm hitting, sure, I'm gonna do a lot of damage and get rid of you. But
a swingy army, but when they're rolling average,
they punch up well above
they're gonna punch well enough. Yeah,
I've actually beaten the Slaves of Darkness with the cavalry and stuff with them before because I rolled so hot.
Yeah, you just roll well. Yeah.
And I just got rid of cavalry.
They've got the capability to do that. I think one of the most swingy armies is probably, you're right. I think that's going to be the best way to describe them. It's going to be all about how many 4-ups do I get.
Yep.
And if I'm not getting 4s today, then it's not going to be a good day for you.
Yeah, absolutely. From there, we got the Idoneth. Again,
just good stat lines,
middle of the road,
right?
Very good.
While no stat lines not like the likes of those in the A tier, like the Slaves of Darkness, right? Like Maggotkin, like Ogres, right? They don't have those kinds of stat blocks, but they've got solid stat blocks with some solid
fun
rules
abilities
around them, fun abilities, like some good cav, a good centerpiece in the shark, right? They have tools that do damage that can take some hits.
This is the army for the Surfer Bro.
Yeah, this is the army for the Surfer Bro. Shuckle yeah. But so, I could even see an argument for like the good tier. I think that they're fine in the good tier. I think that they will compete. I think they have the tools to do the damage they need to. I think on average, though, like they're going to get outvalued.
The ones ahead of them, I think they have trouble with.
Yeah.
Which the next one we're going into is my personal favorite is Soulblight.
Yeah.
The new one, the old one now because there is a new one.
Yeah, there's a new one coming.
The one with vampires.
Yeah.
Great cavalry, great recursion.
They got the good cav.
Their leader is one of my favorites because of the maneuverability of her.
The healing and does damage.
One turn you can just go get on an objective and score some cards really easily. And that's won me games, being a few points behind and going, nah, I'm going to teleport her this round.
That's that really good maneuverable tool to play the objectives. Yeah, and other armies just don't have.
And then the cavalry the fact cavalry can just fly over infantry is great too. I'm pretty happy where they are. Would I love them higher? Of course, but I think in comparison to the rest, I think that's a good spot for them.
They're exactly where they belong. I think. Yeah, they're. I think are they the only death at the top?
They're the only def at top. Yeah.
Which is a little, maybe that's my bias showing through in general because death causes me conniptions.
There is a new Ossiarch Spearhead coming.
Which
is like 9 models.
It's all the big dudes. Elite. I wonder how that
We'll see how that goes. It might have a similar ogre situation. I don't know.
But I think they're in the good tier. Yeah, they're going to compete. They're going to do well. And
they have done well.
If you play them well, if you stretch them, you get as much value out of it as you can, then you're going to do well against those top dogs.
And of course, we'll probably be playing with a lot of these over again when we get to the new season. Yeah, so we might see another different matchup between them and something else.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
I do have that, and then the next one, Yggdrasta, painted right behind me.
Yeah.
So Yggdrasta again.
Yggdrasta,
she's
almost deserving of the top tier position.
Almost.
I do think that.
Close.
I think they're close. Yeah.
I don't think it's because of her.
Yeah.
The rest of it is still good. I think the 3 bigger dudes are great. But she is a turn 3 army.
Yeah.
So
armies that can't deal with you, you're just going to wipe off the board, right? You're going to walk forwards with your 3-up armor saves with 2 wounds.
And everything above them, I think, can deal with them.
Yeah. So they have the power to kill them, to put them down, right?
Or definitely outscore
and set up so that turn 3, I'm ready for that stuff to come in, right? And play around it. Whereas other armies, they're still just trying to clean up what was already
And not to mention, most of the armies above her don't have monsters except for the Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
So she can punch down really well against all the monsters and stuff.
That makes sense. So near the top, there, I agree with,
But the top, very good. We dropped down from broken Maggotkin.
And this might be some of my bias showing through here, but I do think that Maggotkin is a contender for that top tier of some of the best spearheads in the game. They've got meat, they've got wounds, they do damage. All of it's like mortals too that can trickle through. all good rule profile, all good stat lines, right? And they have more stuff coming. They've got a lot of stuff. I mean, I've always found them to do well. Played against them a couple. I played with them once, and that was a good game with them. But then I played against them a couple times, and I've always found them challenging because they're beefy, they're tough, and it's not a ton of damage that they're pushing through. But every turn,
But if they can survive and outscore you, then it doesn't.
every turn they're killing something. So yeah, and then
so
they've got stuff in their back.
They're kind
pocket,
of at a flip of broken to very good here.
I
like them at the top of very good for now.
That's probably where they belong, is in very good. I think I'm wanting to put them at the top because I like them, but probably in the very good there.
But we are now at our broken tier, which again doesn't necessarily mean they're broken. It's just in our terms of like games that we've played, they always seem to just win.
They seem to, they just seem the best in the game.
They just seem the best.
They are winning more often than not. They're what people are playing. And I'll explain why each one I think belongs there.
Okay. So starting with the bottom of the list, we have the Ironjawz.
Ironjawz, it's tough to say any of these belong at the bottom, right, of this list, right? Ironjawz, it's all 2 wound bodies with 3-up armor saves with -1 rend.
Some sneaky maneuverability.
Damage each, all with the maneuverability. Maybe not all 2 damage, but they all got good weapons.
Mortal wounds, it's just your basic infantry.
They've got all the tools you're looking for. They don't have the pick up and drop like a Sylvaneth does, right? They don't, but they still have the cheeky movement tools to let you break the game. So I think they belong at the top here between their raw value, good data sheets, and then good tricks and mechanics.
Totally agree. They're one of my favorites by far.
Yep, they had a good showing, and they're also fun to play with. I think.
They're just...
While they seem one note at first with the idea of big armored orcs, I think you have a lot of decision making to make around where do I bring my turn 3 orc in, right? Because you have that unit that comes in later. You know, where do I... Where do I do when do I do my once per game free move so I can get the most value of
probably
it?
Turn 3 or 4 to get into position to score some secondaries.
Whereas Fyreslayers, it's I'm going to roll my dice. Did I get a 6? I
Nope.
didn't. Okay, well, I'm going to go forward with my plan that was going to happen anyways, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But going into another turn 3 army, Ogres.
Ogres, pre-nerf. Right?
Pre-nerf, they are like 1 or 2.
To me, like these are one of the top 3 for me.
Yeah.
Right? Hit hard. While they aren't like 3-up armor saves across the board, they've got 4 wounds each. Everything's 2 damage or D3 damage. Good leader. And everything coming in on turn 3 means the game is yours on turn 3, right? As Ogres, you're always winning turn 3 and 4. It's about what happens in those first 2 turns for them. So that really limits your opponent to have to do as much as possible. So now they're stuck. Turn 1, I need to score all of these cards.
But I need to get rid of these things too.
But I also need to kill, so always going to be good. They've got that raw value that makes them good. Interest decision making, coming in on turn 3, there's not too much interesting decision making to make with them.
It's pretty clear at that point what you need to do.
Yeah, right. So
where you need to go if you get whatever cards you have.
Maybe not the highest of skill expression armies, to be honest, but always going to do great.
And it's a good starter army too.
Yeah,
because it's low model count again.
Low model count.
Good
Ogres
value.
are fun and easy to paint. So
middle of the broken road though, Sylvaneth.
Sylvaneth. This is the high skill expression army, right? I think if you give this army to a new player, it's going to end up in that average tier. It's still got good value in the Tree Lord. The Kurnoth Hunters they're great. The Tree Lord or Tree Revenants, Spike Tree Revenants, whatever they are.
The ghosty tree.
They're your move around and do some objectives unit, but it's all about using that strike and fade to move around, get your card objectives while securing objectives on the board. You have to know the game and play the game to do well with them. But if you do that well, you're gonna win most of the time. You're gonna perform. Yeah. So. All
right. So I'm gonna just say the top 2 here, and then we got to decide where we put these.
Yeah.
Because it's the Gloomspite and then the Slaves of Darkness.
So me, I'm a little biased. I'm always gonna say, even with that nerf that the STDs caught,
the turn 2,
it's not enough to stop it.
It's not really anything.
Right. It does limit it a little bit. There's no more. For me, it was feels bad games. Yeah. There were games I played where I felt bad because I got turn 1. My knights deployed on the line. I moved 10 inches forward. I charged. I killed the thing.
It doesn't even matter if you go turn 1 because I had turn 1 with Soulblight one time, and I got a counter charge against me with their cavalry, and it ruined my game.
So the army isn't oppressively broken anymore, but it's still really good. It's still all good. Like there's no like lost value in that army. There's no like this unit sucks. This unit is just here to get an objective.
Right.
So has won me many games, while technically the ogres are the ones who won me the tournament ultimately. Slaves of Darkness is what I will always pick if I'm like I want what I think is the best Spearhead. They're the ones I play.
Right.
I perform with the best, and I also think that they are just. I don't know how else to say. You've never played Spearhead before, right? You don't know what you're doing. You put Slaves of Darkness on the board, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah. I mean, they're just
a fun.
They're a fun army with good data sheets. So. And
then I would counterpoint that the Gloomspite is also one of the most fun armies to play.
They're also really fun. Yeah. I mean,
the Troggoths do some work. The same with the Cavalry. It has a very similar feeling. It's like, okay, but you get them turn 1.
Yeah.
So if you can go off turn 1 with them,
and you have to plan you have to plan the whole game out because of the bad moon stuff. So you have to think about where's my stuff
that is
gonna
one.
be
I think
why.
that's where they get knocked down is where you always have value every single turn. With them, you have to choose. Okay, for the first 2 battle rounds, here is this. For the last 2 battle rounds, here's
where I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight.
And it's like, later. Okay, well, and am I going to be fighting back here to turn 3 and 4?
You don't know that.
Or am I going to be there turn 1? Am I going to get my charges? So I think that's where you get that knockdown is because the rule, while good and it has good value when it goes off, not knowing exactly how it's going to play out, it definitely.
They've got a really good screen, right? In those goblins, we talked about how good that screen is, but it doesn't hurt. Right? Yeah. So, like, I don't mind running and staying in a screen if I'm still winning the objective or if that's worked out favorably for me. So, yeah, I am screened out, but did you screen me well? So, and am I still doing what I want to do? And even then, sometimes I kill your screen, especially with those Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
They charge in, they wipe 10 goblins off the board, all your regurgitation doesn't matter, and I'm just kind of going where I want now. So I've been able to beat Gloomspite with them, but Gloomspite has beat me as well.
So it is very much a toss-up.
It's always a fight of
when you get to these get to these higher points, it is all about the skill of the player.
It's about that. It's about card draws.
Card draws is about a big thing. In
the twist. I mean, we've had games on camera
where the twist have been like, oh, that just worked in your favor.
That just totally ruined this turn for me. Yeah. And now the game's yours, right? And we got it. And next turn there's a new twist. It flips sometimes, but like, so there's so many variables around it. And we can't ever say like this army is always going to win, right?
And that is what makes Spearhead great.
It is. That's part of why we like Spearhead so much. Yes.
Looking at these broken armies and going, they always win. That's not true.
That's nowhere near true.
This is more of they are broken in the sense as if you're a good player, you more than likely win. But there's always these variables. And that's what makes Spearhead great.
That's why Spearhead, I think, is one of the really fun game, really good idea. All the stuff around playing the game, even if one army is, and it is, I think some armies are worse than other armies in Spearhead, and I think you're going to have some field bad games because of it sometimes. But you're always going to have an opportunity to play the game because you have the cards, you have reinforcements on stuff, and
scores are closer than you think.
Every time the score is always, I'm always getting points, right? Even if I'm losing, getting my butt handed to me, it's like, I still got 3 points this turn. I'm only down by 1. Next turn, oh my god, that twist is like that totally changes this.
I got a reinforcement card, so I can bring something back and then score some points.
You can always play the game. Yeah. So,
but that is it.
That's our tier list.
That's our tier list.
Yeah, I think that's our tier list. I'm happy with that.
We're about 2.5 hours of record time talking about Spearhead. Hopefully the video won't be that long.
I don't think it will be.
But awesome. Nothing got into bad.
Yes. If I could put something in the bad, there's a couple things I would put into bad there. But because of that most recent round of updates, they, like I said, Kharadron Overlords would have been bad before, but now they have a chance, right? They can play the game, and I think they can for sure win some, right? Yeah. Especially like with the cards and stuff. But so that goes to show, I think, Games Workshop is doing a really good job of kind of balancing this game. The game's simple enough to be easily balanceable, so that's kind of a purposeful
where is
move.
this in Combat Patrol? Thank you.
Yeah, that's. where is the exciting part of Combat Patrol, I guess. So
maybe we'll get that.
Yeah,
maybe they're working on it.
I would imagine with how Spearhead did, like, I'm sure Combat Patrol's like that's the next edition thing, which is probably coming next year. So
probably. Yeah. And then we have the new stuff coming very soon for Spearhead, which could change things completely.
I think that's the point of this is our Fire and Jade Spearhead
Fire and Jade specifically, yes.
Army tier list, right? Like this is how they perform in this current edition of Spearhead. I mean, a lot of these decisions, like again, when you look at an army, you have to look at all 12 of those cards and think, can this army do this, 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 and this? And I didn't do that exactly for every single army, but the new Spearhead edition, some of these armies are going to get flipped the other direction, I think, right? Because they're going to be able to do certain things better than the other.
The cards will be different.
The cards will be different. Twists will be different.
We're going to introduce a bunch of new Spearheads soon. Yeah. There is one that we didn't talk about, the other Gloomspite.
That one I think is like it's brand new to us, to be honest. So I looked at
it. Doesn't even have a box yet,
but
so we'll look at it probably when we talk about the next season. But thank you for coming out to make this discussion.
Thank you for listening to me ramble about Spearhead.
Again, I said they're the analytical one. I'm the they look cool.
You're the vibe officer.
I was like, I'll buy that box because it looks cool.
I was we talked about this with another video, and I got excited thinking about it, and that's my honest I'm no expert, right? I'm no grand tournament player. I do put on deodorant, so I'm not the sweatiest of players.
Spray and
you do the both. Really make sure you get in there, right?
Yeah.
But when I do sweat about this game, I do like to sweat about it a little bit, right? When we're doing tournaments and stuff. This is how I've always felt about it, and I think the Spearheads that we're not seeing get played aren't getting played for a reason, right? So that's part of it. So hopefully that helps some people make some decisions about how they're going to jump into Spearhead, to be honest. I think this is a good lens to view the future Spearhead season through. I don't think it's going to change that much, to be honest, but I do think...
And again, this is our opinion.
Yeah,
your tier list or anybody else's tier list could be different.
Yeah, but that's what I think the biggest stressor with this is. That's what is so cool about Spearhead. Even though we have a ranking of armies like this, none of those armies ended up in bad for us. Because especially with the most recent, with that round of updates that they did, everything is playable. So in this game, so
and that's good. That's a good thing.
I think that shows how good the game is.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you guys enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel.
Please do.
We really appreciate it. We got Kyle over here.
I'm Kyle. I am here.
And I'm Patrick.
I will ramble.
I am also here.
I will spit essays out of my mouth until I go blue in the face, if you let me.
Thank you for checking out the tier list with us today. But until next time, see you later.